Let's get it, 580 Sports Talk. Wishing you all a happy new year. Joining you for the first time in 2025 on this Thursday afternoon here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, 580WIBW.com, and on our YouTube stream. 580 Sports Talk is the channel. You can also watch us on Facebook, WIBW News. We are here with you for the next 3 hours with lots to get to on the first show of 2025. And folks, the gang's all here. I am Dan Lucero. Brendan Dworzinski has returned from paternity leave. Spencer Dupuis has returned from vacation. We're here with you for the next 3 hours. Delighted to be with you. Gentlemen, it's good to see you all again. And Happy New Year, guys.
Happy New Year. Yeah, it's good to be back. Nice to be back.
We're glad that you're back, and we're just going to go ahead and ask the question that everybody has been asking, and everybody wants to know from you since you ducked out of the show a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
How does it feel to have missed us hit a subscriber milestone on YouTube once again?
Entirely predictable. Exactly what I was expecting to have happen while I was gone. Over 700. Appreciate all you guys for doing that.
Shout out to the subscribers.
Man,
yes.
that's phenomenal. A lot of hard work's gone into that by the whole crew, so appreciate you guys.
Second question.
Super predictable, though. Yeah.
Second question. How are things at home, Pops?
They're good. They're good. The worst night of sleep she has had yet was last night. Which is great for the day I was coming back to work. But other than that, yeah, no, it's been wonderful. She's eating well, sleeping well.
So I haven't shared anything. Mm-hmm. So the fact that you're saying she publicly is...
Yes, we did have a little girl.
Okay.
Was born. Our pal Britt Z, former producer of 580 Sports Talk, his son and my daughter were born on the same day. 18 hours and 18 minutes apart.
And exactly 6 months from the birth of my son.
Yeah.
Exactly 6 months.
Funny how that works. Yeah. So it'll be 1 month on Monday. So yeah, things have gone well. She's healthy, sleeping well. Mom is doing phenomenally right now. So certainly can't complain. It's a good place to be in right now. We're feeling good.
Good.
Little sleepy, but pretty good overall.
Yeah.
Mom's doing well, which is more important than anything.
Sure. Physically, everything's good.
Oh yeah. No,
great.
The two of them being good is really all that has mattered at this point. Now, I did have a lot of time to workshop some takes while I was gone.
Okay.
I've been in the lab. Let's just say that. I've been in the lab working on a lot. So we're raring to go here.
Well, we're happy to have you back. We're thrilled for your family. Folks have been asking on the text line, on the YouTube chat.
I appreciate that.
Asking about you, wishing you well. So we're happy to have you, and we're happy to have you back behind the mic here on 580 Sports Talk today. And a lot to get to on this edition of the show as well. We're going to talk some Chiefs today. Utterly meaningless Week 18 game against the Denver Broncos. Well, meaningless for the Chiefs means everything to the Broncos, who are trying to snap a 9-year playoff drought with a win, something they should have frankly already have accomplished. But they're bozos, and their head coach is a bozo. So this is where they're at. We're going to talk a little bit about not just who shouldn't play for the Chiefs, since we have a pretty good idea already. Explicitly has been said that Patrick Mahomes isn't going to play. That was obvious. We can surmise that the players who are being held out of practice this week are not going to play. Should anybody else sit the bench for the Chiefs and get an extra week off going into the AFC postseason? We'll also discuss the dumbest take currently percolating regarding the Chiefs and the result of their game against the Broncos. I talked about it a little bit on Monday with Matt Verderame, but I keep seeing it, and it is driving me up and down a wall, and I have to yell about it some. So we're going to get into that.
Everyone's just bored. We'll get to the take. I'm going to tell you right now, everyone's just bored. The Chiefs are so boring. And if you're a Chiefs fan, that's awesome.
Yeah, but
they're absolutely
they're
awesome.
back to being the good kind of boring, right?
Yes.
The predictable kind of boring.
Oh, yeah. Here's one of the things I've been workshopping. Don't play football for the next month. It's over. Chiefs winning the Super Bowl. Doesn't matter what the Lions are doing. Doesn't matter what the Vikings are doing. The Eagles, the Bills, doesn't matter.
I think I might be with you on that.
It's over.
I think I might be willing to hear that one out.
What can we get on that for odds right now? What can we get?
Great question.
Well, while you continue previewing the show, I'm going to look this up for the people.
And speaking of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs, will join us in the 5 o'clock hour today. We will get Mitch's thoughts on what is happening with the Chiefs. We haven't talked to Mitch since the Christmas Day game. We talked to him the Monday before Christmas, so we'll get his recollections of Christmas in Pittsburgh. Ask me, you see if he got any of that red velvet cake that was going around the locker room, the Netflix cake footballs.
Yeah, at least the Chiefs had some freaking fun with it. The Ravens were like, I will not put this in my body. No, thank you, Jamie Erdahl. Bro, Derrick Henry can eat one piece of cake and be fine. Y'all getting shot up with God only knows what kind of painkiller cocktails at halftime every week. You can eat a damn piece of cake.
This has been like releasing the air out of a balloon, like little by little with Brendan. You could tell.
I got a lot my daughter is the only person who's listened to any of this.
This is true. You haven't really had much of an audience.
She doesn't respond
the last couple of days. Yeah. My son doesn't really go for my takes either. I have to. Yeah, this is where I get them off on my chest. So lots of Chiefs to get to on today's show.
By the way, we're not alone in that take. I checked over at Prairie Band, Prairie Band Sportsbook. They've got the Chiefs right now as the favorites to win the Super Bowl. Shortest odds to win the Super Bowl. And I thought, all right, I need to check a second source. Because while I love our friends at Prairie Band, we locally, when you have a local sports book, things change a little bit because you've got an influx of local rooting interest.
Naturally.
I went over to another book. I won't tell you who it is, but I will tell you that Fans Duel over there, they also have the Chiefs as the favorites to win the Super Bowl.
There you have it.
Smarter people than us are feeling that way. Yeah, that's my biggest take I've been cooking, that I've been incubating for the last 4 weeks, is that it's over. The second biggest take is that Shedeur Sanders is Spencer Rattler.
Wow.
Big arm, very talented thrower, negative athlete, runs into way too many sacks.
I was thinking
questionable attitude.
Going into this season, I was thinking Christian Hackenberg. I called him Hublot Christian Hackenberg once on social media. He's better than that. Like he's better than that. But man, Spencer Rattler, damn, that's tough.
I was higher on Spencer Rattler than most people. I thought he should be like a beginning of the 4th round pick. Shedeur Sanders is absolutely going in the top 5 this year.
Yes.
I've been thinking about this.
Might even go in like the top 2.
This was never stronger than when I was watching BYU beat the tar out of them in the Alamo Bowl.
Yeah, man.
BYU playoff snub?
Yes, 100%. We'll get there. We'll talk a little bit about the college football playoff. We've got the 4th quarterfinal going on right now. They have just kicked off at the Sugar Bowl, which was, of course, delayed a day because of the tragedy that occurred on Bourbon Street early in wee hours of New Year's Eve morning. Delayed a day, so they have just started. Georgia has just gone 3 and out on their opening possession. Georgia and Notre Dame playing right now. We had our 3 other quarterfinals over the last 2 days. 2 of them were duds. 1 of them was an all-timer, and they should build a statue of Cam Scattaboo outside of Sun Devil Stadium or outside of the Tempe Senior Frogs, one of the 2.
Do you know how hard it is to win MVP of some sort of significant football game or any sporting event when losing? You know how hard that is?
Not easy.
I didn't see a single Texas fan complaining.
I think there's been 1 Super Bowl MVP from the losing team, if I remember right.
Yeah, I did not see a single Texas fan, beat writer, anyone who's like, hey, Matthew Golden was awesome. Like, Matthew Golden deserved, Gunnar Helm deserved. No, Cam Scattaboo. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. That's cool. He did pretty damn good.
We will get there. We'll also talk some hoops because Big 12 openers are in the books for both K-State and KU. And kind of figured we'd be talking about one of those teams winning and one of those teams losing. Didn't have the order correct. K-State knocks off 16th ranked Cincinnati on New Year's Eve. And then the KU Jayhawks lose a conference opener for the first time since 1991. That's one of the great streaks in college sports, 33 consecutive years winning your conference opener. I don't think that's ever going to be matched ever again by a major program. But the streak is over for Kansas, who lost at home to a West Virginia team without 2 of its 3 best players. And KU has a big, big problem right now, and it is they can't score the basketball. Watching them on offense is truly revolting. And if you don't believe me, Bill Self will tell you the same. There's a fix for that. We'll talk about it as we get into some hoops later on in the show. Also today, maybe the biggest draw of the day, to be completely honest with you, it is the start of our 2-day What Is Wrong With You Tournament of Champions. We are down to our 12 monthly winners. Today, we have separated those winners into 4 quadrants. We will pick a winner from each quadrant, which will set up our Fail 4, which we will contest on tomorrow's program and come up with our 2024 What Is Wrong With You champion.
I love how you divided it up, by the way. You did a great job separating these quadrants.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I was going to seed them at first, but that felt like too big a job for one man. So I just try to find some commonalities, and we do. We have we have quadrants. We have 4 quadrants. We have the individual achievement quadrant. We have the viral quadrant. We have the that's nasty quadrant. And we have the who are you trying to kid quadrant. And out of those quadrants, we will have one winner out of each. And that will be our fail 4, from which we will choose our What Is Wrong With You champion on tomorrow's show. Plus, we got headlines. We've got either or over under. Rick Peterson's going to join us bottom of this hour for the Lewis Toyota Local Sports Spotlight. That is coming up as well. We'll get Pistol's thoughts on looking back at 2024, looking ahead to 2025 in high school sports. That's all still to come on today's show. You are, as always, invited and encouraged to participate. You can get in the live chat if you're watching on YouTube. Again, the YouTube channel is 580 Sports Talk. There's a live chat feature on the browser or on the mobile device, and you can interact with us and your fellow listeners. You can also hit us up on the text line, 785-272-9429. That is 785-272-9429. All right, Chiefs Broncos. Sunday, 3:25. Like, clean your gutters. Like, you don't have to watch this football game. Even if you're the most diehard of Chiefs fans, make some plans. Shovel your walk. It might need a shoveling on Sunday based on the weather reports that we're seeing. Maybe you should have cleaned your gutters already because it could get nasty this weekend. This is not must-see football by any stretch. We know Patrick Mahomes won't play. It's going to be Carson Wentz under center. Sure doesn't seem like Chris Jones, Juwan Taylor, and Isaiah Pacheco will play. They were all 3 held out of practice today. I can't imagine Travis Kelce plays. He was close to some incentives last year going into Week 18 and still sat out the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't imagine he's going to play in this one. He's got the 1,000 career catches. He's got the Chiefs' individual receiving touchdown record. There's nothing for him to go out and to get, I think, as far as incentives, things like that. Who else do you think the Chiefs will give an extra bye week to functionally? Because I think there are a couple of guys you could argue for. And, like, realistically, you'd love to sit all your starters.
Right.
But this isn't, like, you don't have an 85-man roster. It's not college football. Like, some of these guys have to play.
Yeah.
And that's why the one guy that I came up with, I don't know that you can sit him because you just don't. No offensive line has good depth. It doesn't exist. Every offensive line has a thin depth behind it because there's only so many good tackles, guards, centers, etc. That being said, I'd consider sitting Joe Thuney. I don't know that they can because you have.
I think you can. I think they want to get a look at DJ Humphries at left tackle. So Thuney's not going to play left tackle. I can assure you of that.
Sure.
But Will Humphries, is he back?
By all accounts, if he can play, he's going to play left tackle. And if he can't, then I think they probably go Wanye Morris at left tackle, and I don't know who at right tackle in that case.
Yeah.
I think they'd love to go Humphries Morris.
Not accounting for positional versatility, who is the second best football player on the Chiefs?
Second best football player?
Second best football player on the Chiefs. It's a 2-man race. At this stage of taking age into consideration, not career, because career is Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
Taking everything into consideration, I think it's a 2-horse race. It's one of 2 guys. And it's either Chris Jones, who's not going to play in this game, or Joe Thuney. And I think you could argue, again, not considering Mahomes, that the guy who makes the offense go more than anybody might be Joe Thuney.
The way
because he's playing so well.
And the way he
He's
stepped in.
at 2 positions. He's only played left tackle for 2 games, plus change. He could be an all-pro at either if he started the whole year there. Like, that's how good this guy is. I would consider sitting him, and if he's going to be guard anyway, I would definitely sit him for Mike Caliendo and just say, Mike, go out there, you got it. Because I think he's your most important player. Because if Humphries can't go in the postseason, that's your left tackle. Anyway, in the postseason, you want that guy at left guard. If Humphries is able to go, I'm sitting Joe Thuney. And even if Humphries isn't able to go, I might just say, Carson, I'm sorry. And you're playing with Stuamania and Morris.
Oh, God. Yeah, that would be who else would step in. I'm trying to remember. Wait a minute. Who's the other tackle here? Yeah, you go to Kingsley at left tackle, Wanye Morris at right tackle. And
Carson, I'm sorry, brother, but we got to be ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, against a pretty good Denver front line in a game they have to win. Yeah, that's not ideal circumstances.
Get ready to learn screen game.
I think
I mean, how many guys can they afford? How many more players on top of that? The injury, because you're counting Patrick Mahomes will be the emergency 3rd quarterback probably, right? if they even want to designate him that tag. And the injured guys, how many more guys can you have inactive?
Well, you have to dress 46, right?
Yeah.
So you can't just like play an entire second string. Like there's going to be some guys that have to go out there, but at the same time, you can also promote some guys from the practice squad and maybe play like Hunter Norzad at center, and Caliendo at left guard. Right guard would be who's the other guy they drafted? The kid from Penn State,
CJ Hansen.
Yeah, CJ Hansen, and then go Sumatai if they have to, and Morris. I think DJ Humphries is a really important player. We're going to talk, instead of doing keys to the game on tomorrow's show, because, again, who cares? The Chiefs could lose 80-0, and nobody would care. It would not matter one bit, except to the Broncos. But DJ Humphries is one of the most fascinating guys in this game. And we're going to talk about who the interesting guys are for the Chiefs in this game. And for me, Humphries is up there, because if he holds up, if he can go and play decently well, then you set up where you can kick Tooney back inside and you get the best possible version of this Chiefs offensive line, starting with the divisional round. So that's a pretty important deal. I think they want to see him, and I certainly think if Humphries plays, they can absolutely afford to sit Tooney. I'd probably stay off of Nick Bolton. That's an easy one, because you've got guys on your roster who have been special teams guys who can slot in at middle linebacker. Swayze Bozeman can play all the defensive snaps.
Well, I think too, he's been banged up all season long. He's not on the injury report, but he's a guy that takes it at week in and week out.
I'd say Mike Pinnell's another one. You could probably limit Mike Pinnell's snaps. You're a little short defensive tackle. You play what's his name? Tupelotu. Get him some reps.
But play Uche.
Joshua Uche. Might as well, right?
See what he can do.
It'd be so funny if he doesn't play, though.
Yeah, if he's inactive again. We need more Malik Herring snaps. Sorry, pal. I think that's another one. Pinnell's a guy you could probably sit out.
For sure.
Veteran guy. Tweaked a hamstring in the Christmas Day game. No need for him to be out there. I'd like to see him sit Justin Reed if they can. He played Deion Bush at safety. That's fine. So.
Oh yeah. Deion Bush
still around.
I forgot about him.
I did too, until the Christmas Day game. Yeah. He's out there getting some reps. I'm like, oh, wait a second.
They pulled him up from the practice squad that week, didn't they?
May as well do it again. That's playoff
He was a
hero.
big part of their team last year.
Playoff hero Deion Bush.
Yeah.
That's true. He had the interception against the Ravens in the AFC Championship game. I have to get to this, though.
Also snuffed out that Bills fake punt.
Yes, he did. When the Bills had 10 guys on the field.
Not very smart.
How much of all of this, everything we've seen with the Chiefs, is just they're better coached and they have a clue that is above what their opponents do?
I'm sorry. I was distracted by thinking that the Chiefs should elevate Robert Tonyan.
Oh, they signed your boy Big Bob.
Yeah, he's on the practice squad. That one snuck in right before
they
Christmas.
will. They sure
him.
will elevate him, I think, because they don't have I guess they got a Hendershot back.
Yeah.
I totally what was it? He slipped in as an active player that they just called, that they brought back or something.
Yeah, maybe we'll see Big Bob this week.
Yeah, very well could. Very well could. Yeah,
great week for the Immaculate Grid. I will tell you that.
Yes.
Get him the Kelsey target.
Yeah.
Anyway, I have to get to this, though, before we wrap up talking about the Chiefs here at the top of the show. I talked about this a little bit with Matt Verderam, our NFL insider, when he was on with us on Monday. There has been this idea, and it has not been like the smartest people in the sports media that have propagated this particular take.
I'm sorry, Dan. Notre Dame quarterback Riley Leonard just threw 2 passes on the same play.
Fun.
Things are going great at the Sugar Bowl so far.
I'm feeling good.
Georgia's quarterback is terrified, and Riley Leonard doesn't know the rules.
Feeling good about the under right now. The total was
good
44.
Call.
Yes, thank you. It was not the smartest people in the sports media landscape or the NFL media landscape propagating particular take. But the idea that infuriate me. Number one, the Chiefs are 15-1. Why should they be scared of anybody?
Exactly.
What do they have to be scared of anybody, especially not a team who they beat in the last 3 times they played them? Like, if you wanted to argue that Lou Anarumo and the Bengals had the Chiefs number at one point, like, okay, you got to go back, 3 years for the last time the Bengals beat the Chiefs? On Saturday. Great game.
Awesome.
He was so good. He's had a terrific year. That team's 8-8 for a reason. They got problems that the Chiefs will be more than happy to exploit. Or, and this is the second part of my frustration with this take, problems that the Bills would be happy to exploit, because that's who the Bengals would have to play if they made it to the playoffs, not the Chiefs. It's not like, oh, the Chiefs, if they lose, they would somehow have to play the Bengals instead of having their bye. No, they might have to play the Bengals, but if they were playing the Bengals, that means they wouldn't have to go through Buffalo. And frankly, that is the best case scenario for this Chiefs playoff run, is not having to play against Josh Allen, the Buffalo Bills. Because if you want to argue a team has their number, maybe it's the team that's beaten them the last 3 regular seasons and not the team that is 0-3 against them in their last 3 meetings. Please be smarter. Please endeavor to be smarter when you say things out loud. Like the Chiefs, they don't want any part of the Bengals. I think they're happy to get a part of the Bengals. They want every part of the Bengals.
This is what I meant earlier when I said that the Chiefs are boring. And if you're a fan, that's a good thing. If you're not, it's a bad thing. But this is what we're banking on. We're banking on a 3-year-old playoff game for a team that didn't win the Super Bowl. People joke that the Bengals get more credit for beating the Chiefs that year than the Rams do for winning the Super Bowl. And I used to think that was dumb. That's actually almost certainly true. That yes, the Bengals do get more credit for that. The Rams don't get any credit for the Super Bowl from 3 years ago. The Bengals get immense credit for a conference championship game from 3 years ago. I want the Bengals to make it to the playoffs just because I want to see Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins in the playoffs. I don't think they're actually going to do anything. They're not going to beat the Chiefs. Guys,
they're not going to play the Chiefs because the Bills are going to drop a 40-burger on their heads because they can't stop anyone.
I want the over in that game, by the way, if it does happen, because the Bills can't. Quiet as it's kept, no one except like the real football nerds are talking about this. Over the last 2 months, Buffalo's defense has been terrible. Like really, 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 really bad. Like 28th in success rate in pretty much any category you want to use. Bad. So I hope that happens because it's going to be a really easy road for the Chiefs onto the Super Bowl.
That would be the best case scenario if the Bengals got in and eliminated Buffalo. Then you don't play Buffalo. It'd be the best case scenario.
The Chiefs who are just success rate inside zone run merchants against a Bengals defensive line that now no longer has Sheldon Rankins. He's on IR, I believe.
We're going to take our first break here on 580 Sports Talk. When we come back, some thoughts on the college football playoff, including the game going on right now. Rick Peterson will join us in about 10 minutes or so for the local sports spotlight. Still got so much more to get to as our first show of 2025 gets underway here on 580 Sports Talk. 3:32 on 580 Sports Talk. Just getting things rolling on our first show of 2025. Hope you all had a happy and safe New Year's celebration. Gang's all here. Dan, Brendan, Spencer. Great to be back with you to start this new year. College football playoff. We've learned a couple of things following even just the first three of the four quarterfinals. The fourth one ongoing midway through the first quarter. No score between Georgia and Notre Dame in the Sugar Bowl. First thing we learned is that they are going to change how they seed this thing as soon as possible. We're not going to see 3-seed Boise State and 4-seed Arizona State ever again. That is not happening. We are not going to see 1-seed unbeaten Oregon's reward being a neutral site game against the only team that could have done to Oregon what they did to Oregon yesterday in the Rose Bowl. They're going to change how they see this thing, and frankly, that's a good thing.
Do you think they will change, like, from the start, like, from the selection show change, or do you think they'll do mid-tournament reseeding like the NFL does?
No, I think they'll change how they do it from the beginning. They won't give conference champs automatic buys. The top four ranked conference champs getting first-round buys, no. And I know that will frustrate, because the idea was, well, that protects the conference championship games. It makes them a bigger deal. You don't get to have it both ways. You know, those games are strictly for securing bids. That's what those are for now. And if that means, they're less important, teams are going to take them as seriously, you don't get to have it both ways. Sorry. It's basketball now. It's like the conference tournaments in basketball now, where all winning does is get you in. But it should not guarantee you a top 4 seed, because we ended up with matchups in the quarterfinals that we should not have had. We should not have had Penn State, Boise State as a quarterfinal. We should not have had Ohio State, Oregon as a quarterfinal. That was too good to be a quarterfinal.
I will concede. I mean, you're right. It's going to happen, so it's not really worth complaining about. It's like with the universal DH when it went into effect, and I was like, whatever, it's going to happen. I should give up wasting my energy.
I'm still a little grumpy about it, but it is what it is.
Yeah. My demand for a concession would be those teams still get a home playoff game. Like, okay, Boise State, if we're going to keep the same field, but we're going to change how it's seeded, and Boise State is certainly not getting a bye, I think a conference champion should be guaranteed a home playoff game.
I'm good with that. Change the quarterfinal games to on-campus games, and then do the first round as the bowl games. I'd be fine, because the bowls want to be included in this. So make those games the bowls. And, are you upset, Rose Bowl, that your game is no longer on New Year's Day? Tough.
I just think that, and again, I'm going to stick up for the smaller programs, the G5s, those programs. But I think if you're going to say, well, they won their conference championship, but I don't know. Okay, fine. They should be guaranteed that Boise State or Arizona State or whoever, fine, they don't get a bye, but they get to host Tennessee. Tennessee's got to go to Boise.
Second thing that I learned from the college football playoffs is I don't know what targeting is. If they didn't call on that Texas player, we had text from the 785, and you could text the program 785-272-9429.
Oh, good. Text line's back.
Yes.
Been gone for a while.
Texter asked, what did you guys think about the no-call targeting? I thought it was a travesty, and I thought
Greg Sankey made the call.
Yeah, and I thought it altered, we always talk about, officials don't want to impact the game. By not making that call, you impact the game. Because that should have been a first down and a fresh set of downs, and an opportunity for Arizona State to get one more first down to get into field goal range. Now, no guarantee they make that kick. They've had a shaky kicking game all year, but they should have had the opportunity. That was targeting, but in any sense of the word. And the fact that it was not called, that was the officials being cowards and deciding, well, we don't want to impact the game. Well, by not impacting the game, you impact the game. That was gross. Arizona State still should have won the game. Don't zero blitz on 4th and 13 in overtime. Nonsense. What are you, a 12-year-old playing Madden? Play real defense. Don't blitz 9.
30-year-old playing Madden, maybe.
Look, I respect it one way or another. Third thing I learned is that Cam Scadaboo's a legend and really should have a statue. It's one of the greatest individual performances in a college football game that I've ever seen, win or lose. And guys like him are what make college football beautiful. Like, you can't ruin the sport with guys like that who are involved in it. The fourth thing I learned is that it's still extremely funny that Ohio State lost to Michigan, because they're the best team and the most talented team by a lot.
Yeah.
By a whole lot.
Yeah, they are.
Like, nobody can touch them when they play like that. So the question is, can they play like that 2 more times? Because they are. Will Howard's going to be a national champion. And Ryan Day is going to be a national champion. And then they'll lose to Michigan again next year, and it'll get even funnier.
And just like the previous national championship winning head coach, Jim Harbaugh, Ryan Day will ride off into the sunset and will be an NFL coach next year.
For the Chicago Bears?
I have heard rumors that he is already searching for houses on the Gold Coast. I'm not going to reveal my sources, but I have heard rumors.
We're going to get a timeout. When we come back, Rick Peterson of TopSports.news joins us for the local sports spotlight here on 580 WIBW. We are joined on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline by the great Rick Peterson of TopSports.news, who covers Shawnee County athletics and Washburn University athletics, and does so like no one else. Follow him at TopSports.news. Check him out on Twitter at Peterson_Rick, and catch him every Thursday for the Lewis Toyota Local Sports Spotlight. Pistol, Happy New Year. Great to have you.
Yeah, Happy New Year and to you guys, and great to be back.
For a moment here, let's look back and not ahead. Let's look back at 2024. At TopSports.news, you posted your stories of the year in boys prep athletics and girls prep athletics in the county. And I have to imagine, particularly on the girls' side, that was a particularly difficult task for 2024.
Girls' side was tough, yeah, because there were so many great performances, both team and individual. And I'll be the first to say that I usually err on the side of teams because I know how hard it is for a team to win a state title, any sport.
You ended up selecting individual and a team accomplishment as the number one girls high school sports story in the county in 2024 with Rossville's Kendra Hurla winning her 4th straight individual state wrestling title and helping the Rossville team to their first team state title. So a nice way to work in both a rare individual feat and a first-time team feat.
Yeah, and kind of, I don't know, in a way, I guess I took the easy way out, but hey, so be it.
And then over on the boys' side, it was 2 team state championship stories at the top. Shawnee Heights bowling and Hayden baseball both kind of had something in common, where there were times during their championship seasons in the regular season where it looked like maybe they wouldn't be able to put together that kind of a championship run, but both teams great when it counted.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, Hayden's sitting there right around 500 and then catches fire in the postseason. And Shawnee Heights bowlers had a good season, but they could never get over the top. And then all of a sudden they get over the top, like you said, when it counted the most.
Rick Peterson of TopSports.news joining us here for the Lewis Toyota Local Sports Spotlight on 580 Sports Talk. All right, Pistol, let's now look ahead to 2025 and talk about one of the stories that will certainly be the most fascinating to follow as we go along in this basketball season, the shot clock trial. It is in effect in all United Kansas Conference games. It will not be in effect for any of the Centennial League teams. So some of the teams in the city are using it. Some of the teams in the city are not. What have you thought about it early as an observer of the games, and what are you hearing from coaches about the shot clock trial so far?
I haven't really talked to any coaches about it, but, what I've noticed is you're going to have issues. You're just going to have issues. They have issues at the college level. I see that at Washburn where they have to go to the monitors a lot. and of course, they got monitors there. And they're just, it's going to be an issue. I think we just have to see how it's going to work. I have always said, and in the games I've seen so far, I didn't see that many cases where the shot clock came into play. You might force somebody to hurry a little bit at the end of a quarter or something like that. But I don't think it's going to be the huge deal and have the huge impact that some people thought it would.
There will not be a shot clock at the Dungeon this season. Topeka High's boys and girls will not play games with the shot clock at home. They are in action tomorrow. Games we'll have for is our 580 Preps Game of the Week, our first game of the week of 2025, as the Topeka High girls welcome in Life Prep Academy out of Wichita, and the Topeka High boys, for the first time in 3 years, will play Highland Park. How happy are you, Pistol, to see that game back on the schedule?
I really have complained about this a lot and will continue to complain about this. We need to have these city rivalries back. So I'm hoping that this is just the start of a trend to getting more of those, those great rivalries and those long-time rivalries back.
I talked to Michael Williams, head coach at Highland Park, earlier today for our pregame interview, and he said, and I mean, he's a guy, he's Topeka to the marrow, right? He went to high school here, grew up here, and has coached here in the area, and says that, it's an opportunity, too, for those kids at Topeka High and especially Highland Park, given the league that they're in and who they play on a regular basis, the chance to play in front of a full gym where the community is going to come out and see them play. And certainly Highland Park is a team deserving of that. But I expect a great crowd at the Dungeon tomorrow, Pistol.
Yeah, I would think so too. And, across town, same way. I expect a big crowd for Hayden and Shawnee Heights.
Yes, the other city versus city now non-league rivalry being renewed as basketball gets back rolling tomorrow in the state for high school sports. And that Hayden-Shawnee Heights duel should be really interesting, especially on the girls' side. Hayden's obviously off to a great start. They beat the 6A defending state champions in their final game of the year, and Shawnee Heights has been a team ranked in the top 10 in 5A, so it's a really good early season test for those teams.
Yeah, I think it will be, and I think, Hayden's probably got to be the favorite. Coming off the fact that they did just, knock off and not just knock off the defending 6A champs, beat them by 19, I think it was. So they're playing really well, and they're 5-0. But Shawnee Heights, hey, KK Hammond leads the way, And that's a great score to lead the way. And I think the T-Birds can play with about anybody when they're on.
We've got a couple more questions for Rick Peterson, the absolute best of the best when it comes to covering all of our local teams here in Topeka and Shawnee County. And you can find his great work over at TopSports.news, joining us here for the local sports spotlight on 580 Sports Talk. We should note, Pistol, if you don't mind me taking a quick detour, Dan did not get to the most important year in review question, which is, how many times did you watch Fred Claus during the Christmas time this year?
Oh, I tell you what, over under 20.
I know that's your favorite, Pistol.
20. Hey, probably same amount for Elf. Not just because it wasn't on as much, probably close to the same for It's a Wonderful Life, and same for Miracle on 34th Street. I could sit there all day and watch those movies.
Truly the Mount Rushmore of holiday classics right there.
Well, Pistol, glad you got to watch all the classics. I did want to ask you a little bit about some Washburn basketball, because on the men's side of things, number 2 in the nation, undefeated, one of 5 undefeated teams in Division II entering 2025. Big one against Emporia State this weekend. And I have to imagine, with so much of last year's men's team returning this year, there's got to be a little revenge on the mind right after how badly last regular season ended up at Lee Arena.
Well, and I think that knocked them out of the playoffs. So, so I think if they win that game, they really had a good chance of making the playoffs. So yeah, there is some. And it just seems, I was talking to Gene Castle earlier, and Emporia State just seems to have some kids come out of the woodwork against Washburn. I don't even remember the kid's name, but I'm sure you do, Brendan. They came in and lit them up for like 30 last year.
Oh God,
yeah. And was shooting threes from the parking lot. They always seem to come up with something like that. So I think it will be a good test for the Ichabods, who are, by the way, getting healthy.
Yes, which is such a big deal. And obviously Washburn playing incredibly well right now. Did a great job in Texas at the big win over UCM last time out as well. Dan was on the call for that game out in Warrensburg. By the way, Pistol, that was Owen Long, who made 8 3-pointers and had 36 points. Probably the most infuriating game I've ever called. Real quick, also, the women's team, they lost last time out to Central Missouri, but it feels like Laura Westling's team is starting to build a little momentum here as we hit about the midway point of the season.
Well, again, they're getting healthy, and they're getting everybody back, and they're incorporating the new pieces like Peyton Sturck. I think they're better than their record indicates, and I think they just need that little run to get over the hump. But I like that team.
Rick Peterson of TopSports.news joins us every Thursday at this time for the Lewis Toyota Local Sports Spotlight. His coverage is a must if you care about Shawnee County High School athletics for the Washburn Ichabods at TopSports.news. Pistol, before we let you go, what have you got your eye on in the area this weekend? I know basketball's back in action. We mentioned the two city matchups. Anything else getting back rolling this weekend, or is it next week when things really get picking up again?
Well, it's next week and things really go. We go from 0 to 100 next week. But there'll be some wrestling this weekend, and then, like I said, we're back full bore next week.
Rick Peterson will have it all covered at TopSports.news. Pistol, always a pleasure. Happy New Year again, my friend. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you. Same to you.
That is Rick Peterson. We will step aside for a timeout, come back, play either or over under to wrap up this first hour of 580 Sports Talk. Either or, over under here on 580 Sports Talk as we wrap up this 3 o'clock hour on Thursday. Either or, over under by next year. The seeding of the college football playoff changes to 4 best teams. It's pure seeding and no automatic buys.
No, I'm going to go over because I feel like there's a 25 and 26 contract or something with this current setup of the playoff. I feel like 2026 is a key year. Don't quote me on that, but I'm just going to guess. I've not been here for a month, so
I understand. No.
So I'm going to say over because I think they already have a plan in place. They will change it after next year, but eventually they're going to change it.
Yeah,
I'll take that.
Pretty inevitable. You got a either or, over under today?
Over under 9.5 conference wins for KU.
They will be better than 500. Yes.
Yeah.
10.5. I'm sorry.
10.5. Okay. Yeah. Yes. They will. They'll get there. Yeah. But I think there is reason for a little concern right now. 2 big reasons for concern. One, they cannot put the ball in the basket, which is the object of the game. And number 2, they look good on the road. And there aren't a lot of easy road games in this conference. Ask Cincinnati, who went to Bramlage Coliseum to face a K-State team with wretched vibes and lost.
If I may, Spencer, I'm sorry to cut into your time. If I may also offer an either or over under, Zeke Mayo or the field? Who's the best player for KU right now? You get Zeke Mayo or any other player on the roster.
Zeke Mayo at home, absolutely.
Yeah.
Zeke Mayo in Douglas County, Kansas, yes, 100%.
Loves that home cooking.
He must.
He's awesome, dude.
Yeah,
he
was really good. He was the sole reason they made that rally. We're gonna have more to say about the Jayhawks and the Wildcats in their Big 12 basketball openers coming up in the 4 o'clock hour.
Rapid fire. Did you have one?
Yeah, over under. We'll go 3.5 retread head coaching hires with all the latest coming out where Ron Rivera and Rex Ryan in New York, and then apparently Cliff Kingsbury's talking to the Bears.
So Rivera, this sucks. Like, this is such a blatant flouting the Rooney Rule. Ron Rivera is Hispanic and counts for the Rooney Rule. That's the only reason he's getting interviews, which is crappy if we're being honest. Actual hires though, Spencer, I'm gonna go under. I would not be shocked if Cliff gets one. I don't think he should.
I don't think he should, but I think the Bears, just because the Caleb Williams relationship.
No, they're getting Ryan Day. They're getting Ryan Day with offensive coordinator Lincoln Riley.
Yeah, I'm going over too. Apparently retreads are in style. That's we don't learn from history, so we're always doomed to
I would
repeat
take the over as well.
We have our What Is Wrong With You Tournament of Champions starting in the next hour. Plus, at the top of the hour, we're going to talk some hoops on 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Hour number 2 of 580 Sports Talk on a Thursday afternoon. First show of 2025. Friends, ball knowers, welcome to a new year. Great to have you along. Dan Lucero, Brendan Dworzinski, and Spencer Dupuis with you on this Thursday. And we are with you until 6 o'clock this evening, talking sports for the first time here in 2025 on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on our live video stream. You can catch us on YouTube. 580 Sports Talk is the channel on YouTube. You can also watch us on Facebook at WIBW News. Coming up this hour, the first of our 2-day-long event, the What Is Wrong With You Tournament of Champions. A year's worth of morons, idiots, layabouts, scammers, scalawags, and so forth have been narrowed down to 12 monthly champions, and today we will narrow it down to our fail 4. We have 4 quadrants of 3 stories from which the committee, the 3 of us, will pick winners. If the committee is unable to reach a consensus,
a child dies.
Especially grim.
I didn't say who's.
If a consensus cannot be reached, we will go to the wisdom of crowds, and we will ask you, the listener, to vote, whether on the YouTube live chat or on the text line 785-272-9429. We'll do 2 of the quadrants in our usual What Is Wrong With You time slot, and then the next 2 in the next time slot. So we'll stretch our legs with a little What Is Wrong With You this hour. Looking forward to that. You did not catch our December champion, did you, Brendan?
No, I did not. I did not catch it.
It was a woman who was flying to Australia to go to clown school. And
end of story.
That's not it, though.
It really could have been. No, she packed a gun made of gold, a golden gun.
The woman with the golden gun.
Hence the name of the story, The Woman with the Golden Gun. Yeah, apparently she Googled, can I bring my gun in my suitcase? And clearly failed to find the right answer because she tried to get that gun through customs and is going to do a year in Australian prison.
Wow. That is, wow.
That's a whole different kind of clown school.
So did that beat the forgot my fake identity guy?
It did. That was our championship.
Okay.
And yes, the woman with the golden gun advanced. It was nearly unanimous from the from the listeners. So yeah, that was our December champion. And bringing back all the favorites today in case you missed any of them. Monday's show, if you missed it, was the year in What Is Wrong With You. We played all of the stories as they originally aired. You can catch that, of course, on our podcast page at 580WIBW.com. You catch it on Spotify. You can catch the video archive as well on our YouTube page, 580 Sports Talk. So we're down to 12, and today we will get down to 4. Also going to talk a little hoops this hour. K-State and KU both opening up Big 12 play over the last couple of days.
I don't think we are. Let's talk about something else. You got some football on. You guys seen any cool political news recently?
Wouldn't call any of it cool.
Let's talk about I'm pulled off stage by a large shepherd's crook.
We could talk football. This game's kind of a dog. Notre Dame 3, Georgia 3, midway through the second quarter. Exactly the game I thought it was going to be. Every now and again, I get one right. It's good that this is my first called shot of 2025, at least so far, that this game was just going to be a knife fight in the mud.
That's very descriptive. Yeah, it's pretty ugly. I mean, once Carson Beck had a bad year anyway, but once we knew it was going to be Gunnar Stockton, it pretty much came down to Georgia needing to score on defense.
It might happen.
Yeah.
Ryan Leonard might throw him one. Just, be on high alert for that. So we will talk some hoops, K-State and KU, coming up here in just a little bit. Again, you are encouraged and invited to be a part of the show via one of 2 ways. The text line is wide open, 785-272-9429. Send us a text, 785-272-9429. You can also, if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, interact with us in the comments. There is a live chat feature on YouTube. If you are watching on the browser, if you're watching in your mobile device, in the app, there's a live chat feature, and you can interact with us and interact with your fellow listeners. Hello to everybody in the chat today. I've seen Jeffrey, Barbara, Vance, both Mark B and Mark H. Tyler is in on the chat today as well. Clayton's been in there today. Who else? I've seen Jason has been in. McFly Cowboy in the building. All you ball knowers, thanks for being here on 580 Sports Talk.
Mark B brings up an interesting point. There are 3 of us voting, which would seem to indicate that we will always have a majority vote, unless someone abstains for some reason.
Yes.
So if you have a personal connection to someone, if it turned out it was, Spencer's golden gun, then he probably shouldn't vote in that particular quadrant.
Speaking of the chat, I want to make a New Year's resolution. I want to be better in the chat. I forget that it exists sometimes. And people ask me questions and then they just go unanswered sometimes.
So it's really hard when you're doing the show solo, right? Like I try to catch up. When I was doing the show solo there while you guys were out the last, it wasn't many shows that I was doing solo, but when I was doing those shows, people would ask me questions. I'd try to get to as many of them as I could during like a commercial break. But it's sometimes hard to do it on the fly. But
I just forget because I got a couple other things open on my screen, and I'm like, oh yeah, people
Spencer's
have asked
over
me
there
questions.
shopping, not paying his taxes.
Laramie also in on the chat, wanted a shout out, so we got you. Paul was in on that as well. So and then we have a texter from 785 that said I would be on the chat, but I am on a roof. Love you guys. Glad BD is back. Go Cats. So shout out to the texter from 785.
Not glad I'm back, though.
Be safe.
Spencer, kiss my ass.
be safe getting down from that roof.
I wonder if it's the same guy that did our roof here at the station, because they were listeners.
Was the roof fixed while I was gone?
My roof is fixed.
They were fixing the roof at one point.
All right.
And they came in because it was raining, and they said they were fans of our stations.
Love it. Awesome.
That's all I know.
All right, so what is wrong with you? We'll get to it. We know a lot of you are excited about the Tournament of Champions. We'll get to that. But first, let's talk a little hoops. Let's start with Kansas State, who beat Cincinnati on Tuesday night at Bramlage Coliseum, 70-67, a win they had to have.
Yeah.
I don't know that there was a Power 4 team in the country that had to have a win in their conference opener more than K-State did. To move past those 3 non-conference losses that ended the non-conference schedule, and to at least put a little bit of belief behind the idea that, look, the non-conference is done. Everything we want. Jerome Tang was resolute in saying this, even as things got really bad there in the non-conference. Everything we want to accomplish is still in front of us. Well, for that to be the case, you got to be really good now in Big 12 play. Like, you're about out of, you've about spent your mulligans. But yes, there is a path to the NCAA tournament still for K-State, because every night in the Big 12 gives you a chance for a quality win. So if you win 13 conference games out of the 20, then you're 19-12 going into the Big 12 tournament. And honestly, that's probably good enough. Problem is, going 13-7 in this league is going to be extremely hard.
Yeah.
And impossible if you don't win your home games. So winning a home game against a good team was something Kansas State absolutely had to do. And they got it done. And they got it done because the 2 guys that this team needs to be capital D dudes on a night in, night out basis were dudes. Because Coleman Hawkins was great, for the first time, truly great in the K-State uniform. And Doug McDaniel was awesome, because Doug McDaniel was in the starting lineup. Jerome Tang had quite the explanation for that after the game. Some divine intervention, perhaps, leading to Doug McDaniel being in the starting lineup. I'm not going to argue with the man. Look, there are a lot of coaches who would say something like that in a postgame, and I would roll my eyes. I believe it 100% with Jerome Tang. I think that's who he is. I think it is genuine, and I don't think he cares how it comes off. I think he's 100% genuine in how his faith guides him, even in matters of setting the starting lineup for his basketball team. That being said, hey, big fella upstairs, could you have sent that message a couple of weeks ago? God's timing is never imperfect, right? That you've heard that before, I'm sure. But maybe in this case, we would have liked to have seen Doug McDaniel in the starting lineup a couple of weeks earlier, because it just looks so much better when he's out there with the other best players on this team.
Okay, I want to build on that with a question of my own, and I want to make sure this is clear. This is not intended to slight Kansas State after a really big and very important win. Do you think that big picture, that game meant more, or told us more about Kansas State or told us more about Cincinnati. The reason I would argue it tells us more about Cincinnati is that I was higher on this K-State team than the level they have performed to so far this year. But like going into this year, I thought Coleman Hawkins was going to be really good.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Doug McDaniel paired with Coleman Hawkins was going to be awesome. Like they haven't been, but that kind of was, and they were going to play good defense.
Mm-hmm.
They ran some sets, like they ran a real offense for a lot of the game. Helped to have a real point guard out there. Like that's what I sort of envisioned the good version of K-State would be.
No, that's exactly right. Like that's what you pictured it looking like from the very start.
Whereas I think Cincinnati did not play an especially difficult non-conference schedule, and they probably were not a top 20 caliber team. I still kind of like this
24th in the Ken Palm. They're a solid team, but I don't think they're a top 20 team in America.
Better than I would have assumed, actually. I hadn't checked that number. If Luke Kocius isn't hitting shots, where's their offense? Because like I kind of like Jizzle James as like a third option. I don't really know. Like
Bandego's really good.
Yeah.
Like for what he is.
But like if you need, hey, we need a run. Like who's gonna go score for it? K-State, you've got a couple guys you can say, you know what? Brendan Housen's gonna shoot us out of it. And he's gonna shoot himself out of this slump. He's gonna be fine. Coleman Hawkins eventually is gonna figure it out and play some big man floor general roles. I kind of think that this game exposed Cincinnati more than it proved anything new about K-State. Again, because I think this is what we thought K-State would be already. They just hadn't reached that level. I think it was kind of like, oh, Cincinnati, you might have some foundational cracks that we had not previously talked about.
I think the thing for Kansas State, and I said after the Wichita State game, the reason, and I sat on that mic on Monday after the Wichita State loss, and I said, this season's functionally over for Kansas State.
Mm-hmm.
And
I agreed.
And my thought is that you brought Coleman Hawkins in to be a leading man, and he's not that. And you brought Doug McDaniel in to be your guy, and for whatever reason, he hasn't been trusted. You haven't given him the keys. And for a night, Coleman Hawkins was a leading man, and Doug McDaniel had the keys. And that's what it looked like. It's going to have to look like that a lot. They're in a deep ditch that they have to dig themselves out of. But you saw what it can be. And I think that was the most important thing for everybody's sake. For the sake of the fans, for the sake of the coaching staff, for the sake of the players themselves, to see what it can look like, to have the vision play out. Because, yeah, if Brendan Housen goes better than 1 for 8 from 3, that's not a game you're having to sweat out at the end. And I got to give Max Jones some credit, too, because I think with Hawkins and McDaniel doing what they did, it allows Max Jones to kind of settle into a role that I think he'll be really good in, which is sort of the Cam Carter role that he was in the last 2 years, or at least in the Elite 8 year, where, okay, this guy is not the primary offensive option, but you better not forget about him because he can go get a bucket. He can stretch the defense, and he's got enough size. He can defend a little bit, and he can get a rebound. Got a huge offensive rebound after a missed free throw by Hawkins down the stretch. So absolutely critical win. K-State had to have it, and gives you some good vibes going against TCU on the road. And TCU is not a particularly good team. Like this is another one where, like, you hate to call games must win, but if you're going to make the tournament, not have to worry about the conference tournament, this would be one you got to go get. You got to go to Fort Worth and win. This is a winnable road game, and K-State has to find a way.
Especially because the conference tournament year after year has proven that it is not as valuable as we'd like to make it out to be. This is a run. How good do you think Tech is?
Texas Tech?
Yeah.
I don't think they're particularly good.
This is a stretch. Cincinnati.
They're 26 in the Ken Palm, but they had a bad loss.
It's probably the Big 12 bump, honestly. You already have one banked against Cincinnati. TCU on the road. Oklahoma State on the road. Yikes. Houston at home. Don't feel great about that one. And then home for Texas Tech before you have the first Sunflower Showdown January 18th. That's a 5-game stretch. 4-1 is not out of the question.
No.
I'm not going to pick a win over Houston even at home. I know it's hard to win on the road in the Big 12.
Mm-hmm.
Houston's damn good. You can beat TCU even on the road. You can certainly beat Oklahoma State on the road, and I think K-State can beat Tech at home. They've got to be on their A game, but they're 4 winnable games that 5-game stretch, and you already have one banked.
Yeah, and it feels like those are the ones they're going to need to put themselves back in that NCAA tournament
because
conversation.
The schedule gets tougher after that.
Yes, it does. As for Kansas, losing a season opener in the Big 12 for the first time, Brendan, in your life.
Yes, that's correct.
First time since 1990 that KU has lost their conference opener. They lose to a West Virginia team. Look, I know they were down 2 of their 3 leading scorers and their best guy in Tucker DeVries. Darian DeVries coaches ass off.
Great
And
coach.
That
Great
team,
coach.
That team's got some good wins with all their guys.
Mhm.
They're probably like, you ask me right now, do I think who's better, them or Cincinnati? I would say full strength West Virginia, and I wouldn't even have to think too hard about it.
Yeah.
I think it's a good club.
I mean, what DeVries, the big games he's won so far at West Virginia are games that Huggins, I don't think, could have won.
Well,
not at the end of his career.
Huggins
certainly.
never won at Allen Fieldhouse,
Exactly.
quite famously.
Yeah.
In fact, no West Virginia coach ever had until New Year's Day. Bill Self said it was one of the worst offensive performances he'd ever been a part of, in so many words. So that means I don't have to say it, but that's what that was. And KU got back in that game with a really strange lineup. Not a lineup you would have predicted would be the lineup that rallies you back from 18 down and ties the game with 16 seconds to play, because it included two centers. Like, you're not talking about Flory Badunga is not a stretch four. Hunter Dickinson is not a stretch big. Those are centers. Those are fives. And you played two fives together, which I can't remember last time KU did that. David Coit in the backcourt with DeJuan Harris and Zeke Mayo as the only guy on the floor who could get his own shot. And this was the problem last year for KU, and it appears to be the problem again this year for KU. They don't have enough guys who can get their own shot. They have two guys who might be able to get their own shot, but Bill Self won't put them on the floor. And when they've been on the floor, they haven't played well. That's AJ Storr and Rylan Griffin. So it's a very strange spot KU finds itself in that I don't know that they know the mix right now. If K-State's win was about, okay, we've kind of found our mix, we kind of found what it's supposed to look like when it's going good, I don't know that KU knows what it's supposed to look like yet.
I would agree with that in a sense. I'm gonna piss off every youth, high school, and most college coaches that have ever coached the game, because I'm going to give you the inverse of something that you, basketball coach, have told your players your entire career. KU needs to earn the right to play defense at this point. I get it with KJ Adams. Like, I understand why Bill Self loves KJ Adams. The toughness, the personality, the defense, I understand it. DeJuan Harris is not coming off the floor, but I understand, like, he's former Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. He's a good facilitator, all of that. You've got to earn the right to play defense at this point, because if you're going to try to be defense first with this roster, the way it's currently constructed, this team is going to go like 12-10 in the Big 10. Yeah. Or what would it be? Like 11-9 in the Big 12. You have to score. You have to put the ball in the basket. The AJ Storr thing is incredibly frustrating. I have more confidence in Rylan Griffin getting it going than I do AJ Storr at this point, to be completely honest with you, given their backgrounds. Rylan Griffin's got to score, man. You got to make shots. That's what it comes down to. I love Zeke Mayo. Zeke Mayo cannot shoulder this much of the load.
He's the only guy who can get his own shot.
Hunter Dickinson sucked in the first half the other day. I have been a rabid Hunter Dickinson supporter. He sucked in the first half the other day.
His defensive effort was atrocious. I would have pulled him. I would have pulled him early second half if I'd been Bill Self. I just would have rode with Flory. They rode with both Badunga and Dickinson, and it worked great.
And you can do that because Hunter is limited defensively. We know that, but you can still have him be a very effective, useful, impacting, winning player if you've got a way to supplement that. Flory can do that because even though he is raw and he is still learning, he is insanely athletic. You know who else is insanely athletic? KJ Adams. You know what the difference is? About 5 inches.
Yeah.
And springs. KJ can jump. He can't jump like that. Flory was getting out and was defending his ass off on the perimeter. When's the last time you saw a KU big on the perimeter not just be a traffic cone? Like that's a big, big deal. And I know that that's not what Self wants to run, which is hilarious, by the way, that KU should be running 2 bigs, but Self doesn't want to. Hysterical. Like, you've got to find a way to score the basketball, because if you can't, then it really doesn't matter if KJ Adams can defend really hard for 30 minutes, because you're not going to win. You have to score.
You have to let AJ Storr be AJ Storr. Like, I understand the idea is that, well, you got to fit into what we are asking you to do. You're not shouldering the offensive load. You're not being the guy with the ball in his hands all the time. But you can't change a player who's been that player for as long as he have. It's different when you get a freshman in and they got to play a different role than they did in high school. AJ Storr is an all Big Ten guy. And now you're asking him to be 3-and-D. That's not his game. That's not who he is. Let him be him, because you can tell he gets out on the floor and he doesn't know what he's supposed to do. Like, okay, he's not the best defensive player you've ever coached. Fine. You need buckets. You need buckets. You know who your defenders are. You know who to put on the floor if you need stops. You need buckets. They had 20 points in the first half of that game. And West Virginia is not spectacular defensively. It is so frustrating to watch a team that handicaps itself for the better part of games because they play 3-on-5 on offense. Because let's be honest.
Yeah.
DeJuan Harris, not a scorer. KJ Adams, not a scorer. Never been the case. And now more and more teams are saying, well, we're just not going to guard them. We're not even going to worry about it. We'll pack it in against Hunter. We'll make it hard to get the ball into him. And we're not even going to bother guarding Harris and Adams.
And the thing is, honestly, I think KU playing from ahead, you can play Adams for more minutes because what are other teams going to do if they are playing from behind against an athletic Kansas team, a team that's making shots, that's running good offense? What are they going to do? Press. Not like literally press in the backcourt. I mean, they are going to themselves in their heads press. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to take more gambles. You know what that leads to? Runouts. Situations where KJ Adams can get downhill, where you can defend and not have to worry about maybe only having a few guys who can shoot and score at a time. You can play the matchups better in that regard, but you've got to get out to better starts. You've got to get out. If you're ahead at halftime, 38-20 or whatever, play KJ Adams every second of the second half. You're going to slam the door on him. That's fine. But if you need to be in a scoring position, you can't rely on him and Harris at the same time. By the way, here's another fun stat for you, a fun fact for you. Or well, let's see if you can guess this. When's the last time KU didn't win the Big 12 in back-to-back years?
Back-to-back years?
Yep.
Yeah, you got to probably go back to the 90s.
1999 through 2001. 3 straight seasons they did not win the Big 12. Prior to that, it was 87 through 90, which, of course, hilariously featured a national championship. Ever since 2001, KU has never gone more than 1 year without winning the Big 12.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Not going to do it if they can't win at home, and they're not going to do it. They're trying to dig out of double-digit deficits every second half. Like, they've shown they can do it, and there's something to be said for this team's resolve. Again, that's being a veteran. That's being well-coached. It's all of those things. But it's a lot easier to play when you're not playing from that far behind. Play a better first 20 minutes. That's going to solve a lot of what's ailing KU. That trip to Orlando tripped them up last year. That's where they're headed next. They play UCF on Sunday. We'll take a break. When we come back, the What Is Wrong With You Tournament of Champions begins on 580 Sports Talk. You've waited all year for it, and now it's here. It's the What Is Wrong With You Tournament of Failed Champions. We have, throughout 2024, brought you stories of woe and stupidity and confusion from across our globe. And each month, we have picked a winner. And now we have 12 monthly champions from the calendar year 2024 who will now compete to try and make our Fail 4 a field from which a champion for 2024 will be crowned tomorrow on the show. Who will join the likes of the family funeral feud, or the grilled cheese standoff, or tailpipe girl?
I don't know if anyone will quite join
Tailpipe Girl?
Oh, Tailpipe Girl.
Tailpipe girl.
A legend. She was at a country music outdoor festival.
And put her head in a tailpipe. Yeah.
That's not a euphemism. Literally shove your head in a truck tailpipe.
What?
Man.
It was removed. And then she did it again. They had to cut her out of it.
I would venture to guess there were some extracurricular things taken.
There were some libations involved. She called herself
Yeah, she gave
Girl,
herself
by the way,
nickname Tailpipe Girl.
Like, bro, you can't be a girl and call yourself Tailpipe Girl.
And a reminder of last year's champion, the meat suitcase. One of the great stories. So now we have 12 finalists, and we have divided them into quadrants. And in each quadrant, there are 3 stories. We will pick a winner from each quadrant. We begin today's Tournament of Champions with the individual achievement quadrant. These individuals' actions landed them in this quadrant. We have our July champion, Matthew Pancake of the Columbus Pancakes, who broke into several stores outside of Columbus in Hilliard, including the famous footwear and a Petland, along with a restaurant, while wearing a leopard print onesie, and was captured with 2 hamsters in his pants pockets. A number that was later revealed to be false. It was actually 4 hamsters. That's Matthew Pancake. Our October winner, Rashee Rice's mom, who swiped literally a box. Again, not a joke. Literally the mother of the Chiefs wide receiver, who took a box of Chapel Roan records off of the porch of one of her neighbors and just walked away with it in full view of a Ring camera while wearing a jersey that read Mama Rice and had the number 4 on the back.
Yeah, it'd be more incognito than that, lady.
Yeah.
It was hours after her son had torn his ACL in that win over the Chargers, by the way. Happened on the same day. And then our last member of the individual achievement quadrant, banned from Ulta Beauty for life, the guy from Opelika, Alabama, who threatened to blow up on Ulta Beauty and has been banned from the store for life. Also had a bunch of ink on his face and had dyed his beard blue. So,
yes,
lots going on with these 3 stories. Gentlemen, which of these 3 should advance out of this quadrant to the Fail 4?
I feel like because it happened on an unfortunate day, but she was out and about doing something dumb, I feel like Rashee Rice's mom has got to be the winner.
So we have a vote for Rashee Rice's mom. Brendan.
Man, this is tough. Man had hamsters in his pants, though. Man, I'm going to go with Matthew Pancake. I'm very close on Rashee Rice's mom. I'm very, very close. This is a tough one. This is a really good one. I'm going to go with Matthew Pancake before I talk myself out of it.
I am breaking the tie with a vote for Matthew Pancake. One of the funnier stories that we have encountered, and one of the great original reads of a story, because we just could not get past the man's name.
Total Mad Lib of a story.
When you are arrested and you have multiple hamsters in your pants, or maybe it was gerbils. Maybe that was the correction, was that it was gerbils and not hamsters. I don't know if he was trying to free them. It may have been a mission of mercy. I mean, he did break into a pet store after all and smash in some dog kennels and free some birds. It could have been, in his mind, something like a mission of mercy. But what it ended up being was a guy in a leopard print onesie whose name is Matthew Pancake. And for that reason alone, Matthew Pancake is our first entrant into the Fail 4. Who will join him? Next up is the viral quadrant. So named because these stories went viral. You probably didn't need us to bring you these stories, but we did talk about all 3 of them.
Oh, man, I forgot about this January winner.
The January winner, the Gorilla Wedding. The group of people that just rolled up on a coffee shop and had a wedding and didn't pay a dime for it.
This is the first monthly champion for Spencer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just rolled in
This one was funny.
on a coffee shop, a group of 20 to 30 people had a wedding ceremony on a normal business day during normal business hours and bought like 6 drinks and didn't leave a tip. And
Yeah.
the coffee shop contacted them and said, hey, we'd have been happy to rent you the place. In fact, here's an invoice for your rental, and they have $500 an hour. And the bride was like, well, how about a donation? Like, no, you used our facility to have a wedding, a guerrilla wedding out of nowhere. Very funny story. Our second story in the viral quadrant, the suspended license. This one went mega viral. The gentleman in Washtenaw County in Michigan who was appearing via Zoom on a hearing for driving with a suspended license while driving on a suspended license.
Well, it got very convoluted because he didn't have a license. He was never issued one.
It did. It did end up being a story that the tenor of it changed a little bit, but it was our May champion. And our June champion, Steroid Dad, which our original link cannot be accessed. So I need to find Steroid Dad.
And that was a entrant by our summer intern,
Trenton Kraxner. Yeah. Joshua Shane Hammond, a dad who attacked his son's wrestling opponent. Oh, no, the referee.
The referee.
Referee.
Yeah.
Yes, he did not approve of the fact that the referee was telling his son to stop applying an illegal move. So he ran out there in what appeared to be Crocs and camo jorts and violently shoved the official, who we also found out was a lawyer who goes by Speed Turtle on TikTok.
Correct.
There was so much to this story. Steroid Dad.
Yeah, that one was great. I'm bummed the original write-up is no longer available. Yeah, that one is hilarious. This one's tough for me. All right, I voted first last time. Spencer, you go first this time.
I thought I voted first.
No, I voted first.
No, Spencer did vote first.
Last time?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, like 30 seconds ago. Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind then. I'll go first. I just had a kid.
You're good.
Real talk.
This is really close for me. Steroid Dad is a great story, but I don't think I can pick that over the gorilla wedding. These people were so awful. I don't want to curse. They were absolutely so dreadfully terrible. They treated the people like crap. They made a mess. I'm going to go with the gorilla wedding.
Just to have a pop-up wedding. The nerve, the audacity of those people to show up and decide, yeah, we're just going to have our wedding here. And I'm sure they'll be fine with it. Here, hold our jackets. Hold our purses.
Yeah, I'm going to make a donation.
While we commandeer the entire space for this wedding. Just the audacity to think that. Spencer, what is your vote?
My vote is for the suspended license guy. He showed up to court driving and said, hold on, let me park. Pulled into the Zoom while driving, which is probably illegal in the state.
So the reason I can't vote for the suspended license guy is because it does kind of seem like he got hosed. Then the system kind of mistreated him a little bit.
Yeah.
Like obviously a very stupid thing to have done. But there were layers to that story that made me feel a little bit of sympathy, where I feel no sympathy whatsoever for the people who just rolled into a public space and said, we're just going to have a pop-up wedding, like a flash mob wedding. This will be fine. We'll just buy 6 coffees and that'll make it good. No.
So funny.
The gorilla wedding, our January champion, advances out of the viral quadrant and joins Matthew Pancake in the fail 4. What about the next 2 quadrants? You'll have to wait until after the timeout. We'll come back with more What is Wrong with You? The Tournament of Champions next on 580 Sports Talk. Not a mistake. We're still on What Is Wrong With You on this Thursday edition of 580 Sports Talk, because today is day one of our 2-day What Is Wrong With You Tournament of Champions for 2024. We have advanced 2 stories to our Fail 4, which will be contested tomorrow. Matthew Pancake and the Gorilla Wedding are moving on. We have 2 more quadrants to solve and declare winners from. Our third quadrant is called the That's Nasty quadrant, because these are all stories that made us say, for varying reasons and to varying degrees, that's nasty.
Janet Jackson could not be reached for comment.
February, the story we dubbed, he took antiques and wrecked them.
No.
That is sure a word I said a lot in recounting this story.
I'm opting out of this story.
So while I was away, I did tune in a little bit, and I happened to tune into that segment where where you re-aired all the stories as they aired. And the amount of times that was said is wild.
Yeah, I said it a lot, and I'm not proud of myself. 60-year-old kilt-wearing man in Texas went to an antique shop and put a makeup brush, a restoration hardware piece, an antique bottle opener, and a tobacco tent can up his kilt and inside of himself, and then put them back on the shelf. The items were a total loss. Obviously.
Yeah, I'll say.
So that's our February winner. He took antiques and wrecked them. We have our April champion, the Unholy Orgy from Poland. There was a Polish priest who was having a sex party at his house, and a gentleman collapsed because he took too many ED pills, and paramedics were refused entry to the house after an ambulance was called. The priest was sentenced to 18 months in jail for sex and drug crimes.
I don't have analysis for that. I'm as much at a loss now as I was back then.
Yeah.
And then we have the stinky feet shooting from August. 48-year-old man from Iowa with some gnarly feet, and his dad told him his feet stunk. And so his response was to shoot his dad in the face with a gun. He was arrested for attempted murder and child endangerment because there were children in the room. Also, his father...
Go Hawkeyes.
Yes, he was wearing an Iowa Hawkeyes t-shirt in his mugshot.
Most offensive thing anyone related to the Iowa Hawkeyes did all year.
48-year-old man shot his 74-year-old father, who is in a motorized scooter, in the face because his dad said, yo, your feet are rank. Probably didn't say that exactly.
Would love if he had, though.
Something to that effect. Anyway, yeah, all these stories are gross. Which one should advance?
Your vote first.
It is my turn to vote first. There's a part of me. There's a part of me that is a little tired of saying the word rectum on this program, but at the same time, he wore a kilt. He knew exactly what he was going to do when he rolled up in that antique mall. He had a plan.
Yeah, he did.
He was a man with a plan and a kilt, and nothing underneath the kilt, presumably. And yeah, it's going to be my vote. If you guys don't like it, you can vote it out, but that's my vote.
I am going to vote for the stinky feet shooting. Because if you told me, hey, Brendan, your feet, they're smelly, do something about it. You know what I would not do? You know what would not be anywhere between 1 and 1 million on my list? Pull out my sidearm and put a bullet in your face. And you're not even my own dad. And there are children in the room. That gets my vote.
I have to agree with Brendan on this.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't want to hear the word rectum anymore.
Okay.
Now, I will admit, I am surprised that the Unholy Orgy did not get a single vote. Because, oh my God.
Yeah.
That is insane. But yeah, you can't shoot your dad because he said your feet stink.
All right.
Take a bath, bro.
This is an upset to me, but the stinky feet shooting advances.
Brian Ferentz has really fallen off.
Out of the That's Nasty quadrant and moves on to our Fail 4. One more. And this is the Who Are You Trying to Kid quadrant.
This is my favorite one.
Yeah.
There are 3 really good stories here. From March, the Burger King divorce incident, which was one of the sub-headlines in a scammer story. 41-year-old gentleman from Mission, Texas, who had scammed people out of $21,000 posing as a car salesman and a paralegal. He was posing as a paralegal who could help initiate divorce proceedings, and they met at a Burger King. Hence the name of the story, the Burger King divorce incident. He scammed 3 different people out of a whole bunch of money. And talking about divorce proceedings at a Burger King. It's a very, very funny thought. From September, dog looks like a panda. The zoo in China that rolled out some painted dogs and said that they were pandas.
Yeah, we're not saying like the desert mammal. No, these were literally chow chows that were painted.
Man, it was so obvious.
People were confused, and then they were more confused when the dogs started barking.
Yeah, the dogs were barking there after a while, which, again, it's not what dogs do. If you're watching on the YouTube stream, we'll throw the picture. So obviously not a panda. Then the zoo was like, actually, they're panda dogs. It's a new breed.
Before eventually admitting that there were just no pandas. So funny.
So that's dog looks like a panda. And then our December champion, the woman with the golden gun, Liliana Goodson, 30-year-old woman, traveling to Australia to attend clown school, was scared, decided she'd bring her gun. Not a thing you can do on an airplane. Had set a calendar entry on her phone with a note reminding her to put gun in suitcase. Which is a really funny detail.
It is a very funny detail.
And Goodson had told police she was actually scared of shooting the gun and hoped producing it would be enough to deter threats. And if that didn't work, she would probably just pistol whip. Again, her words. The court was told in recent years Goodson was using psychedelic drugs.
Well, I mean, I'm shocked by that.
And I'm sure she had a vision about clown school in the course of her doing psychedelic drugs. And then, tried to bring a gun on an airplane into a different country. And is now going to prison for a year. Anyway, those are our stories in the Who Are You Trying to Kid quadrant. I love all three of these.
Yeah,
stories.
these are really good.
I did too, but I don't think you can beat a story that has multiple stories within a story.
The Burger King divorce incident?
Yeah, that's got my vote.
Okay.
Because it's like we can never how many times in this will there be a story that encompasses multiple stories of being dumb?
What is wrong with Youception?
Yes.
No, that is true. That's a good point.
That is a very good point. And you know I love a good fraud story. However, that fraud does not compare to the fraud of advertising that you have pandas at your zoo.
Come see her. Like every time a zoo in America gets a panda, it's an event, right?
They lead World News Tonight with it.
Yes.
And these people just painted chow-chows.
And I understand in China it's different because they're a native animal to the country, which makes it even funnier. Like, who was going to notice that this is not a panda? Everyone.
People who are familiar with the animal. Yeah, I'm going with the painted dogs. The panda dogs. I have to. They're sunbathing like dogs.
Its tongue is out, the whole thing.
They were barking.
That's not what pandas do. That's not the sound a panda makes when I do it with my son. Ooh, what sound does a cow make? Moo. What sound does a duck make? Quack. What sound does a panda make? Woof, woof. No. It's never been that. Dog looks like a panda. Joining.
Is that your vote?
Yes, that is my vote. 100%.
This was the best quadrant.
Yes, by far.
This was the region of death. The group of death.
Group of death, no question. So our fail 4 for tomorrow: Matthew Pancake, the gorilla wedding, the stinky feet shooting, and dog looks like a panda. We will crown a 2024 champion on tomorrow's show. When we come back, we'll wrap up the 4:00 hour of 580 Sports Talk. Wrapping up the 4 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk. Any story you want to say an extra long goodbye to from What Is Wrong With You as we're now down to our fail 4?
I do believe that the Burger King divorce incident is the best named story we probably have ever had.
Yeah.
It's just so ridiculous.
I love some of the kickers from the stories this year, like the gentleman who was banned from Ulta Beauty for life, or the fact that the woman with the golden gun was going to Australia to attend clown school. Not clown college, mind you. Clown school.
No, she wasn't even in undergrad.
No, she was getting her clown GED.
Clown GED. That's ridiculous. There was a great one. I was looking up some old notes today. Because we're getting close to the end of the NFL season, which means we're getting close to going back to our predictions from before the year. By the way, we actually did pretty well. We had some good picks earlier in the year. But the winners that day when we did our Super Bowl picks, do you remember the story? And I would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for that loose dog.
Great name. Another great name.
Wasn't there a one... The guy that went on the Bobcat rampage?
Yeah, that was early in the year.
Yep.
That was the solid one. Man.
Oh, well, he was found not guilty by reason of insanity in October.
That's a great addendum to that one.
Remember the story that began, police found a pregnant woman in her car covered in spaghetti after a road rage incident?
Yes.
I do remember. Was this year or was it last year when we had the woman who spent all that money on the TikTok shop and was stealing it from her church?
That was this year.
Was that this year?
Yeah.
Remember the guy that I had he threw the wiener at the cop and the cop got hurt?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Man, it had been a great year.
Bangers.
Brendan's got the Washburn Coaches Show. He's out. Me and Spencer have you the rest of the way. We got headlines, and Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs, will join us. That's all coming up on the final hour of 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Third and final hour on this Thursday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Crew is down to just two of us. Brendan Dworzinski's off to Skinny Sports Bar and Grill for the first Washburn basketball coaches show of 2025. Catch Brendan chatting with the head coach of the Washburn women, Laura Wessling, and the coach of the number 2 ranked men's team in Division II basketball, Brett Ballard, at Skinny Sports Bar and Grill on Huntoon and Gage in Topeka, where every day is game day. That show will air from 6 to 7 over on our sister station, your exclusive home for the Ichabods, Country 106.9. So it's me, Dan Lucero, and Spencer Dupuis, and you on the other side, either of the computer monitor or the radio dial, or however you might be listening to us today here on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on our video stream. Our YouTube channel is 580 Sports Talk. The Facebook page is WIBW News. We're glad to have you with us on this Thursday. It's our first show of 2025. If you're with us today, it means you survived your New Year's celebrations. We're sure glad that's the case. Glad you were safe, made some good decisions, and are with us to celebrate this new year. Still to come on this hour of the show, we got our 580 Sports Talk headlines, of course, and we'll hear from Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs. He'll check in with us ahead of the regular season finale for the Chiefs. They head out to Denver to take on the Broncos, a game that means nothing to the Chiefs and everything to the Broncos. We'll talk all about it with the voice of the Chiefs, thanks to our friends at Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. We'll also make some 2025 predictions. I have a prediction. Georgia's going to lose the Sugar Bowl.
Yeah, I would say so.
Notre Dame just returned the opening kickoff of the second half for a touchdown. Now,
shout out Jaden Harrison.
Now 20-3.
Former Marshall football player.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Huh.
He had I think he led the NCAA in kickoff returns and he transferred to Notre Dame.
20-3 is the score right now. Third quarter is just underway. It feels like it's 70-3.
Oh, yeah.
Seeing what Georgia has done or not done more accurately with the ball in the first half. So, looks like Notre Dame is on to a national semifinal in the college football playoff, joining Penn State and Ohio State and Texas. We'll get to that perhaps in a little bit more detail later on. We'll make some predictions for 2025. We'll get to some sports headlines. Do appreciate those of you stuck with us through the What Is Wrong With You Tournament of Champions. Again, we are down to our fail 4. Matthew Pancake, the Gorilla Wedding, the Stinky Feet Shooting, and Dog Looks Like a Panda for our 8th annual. Spencer, this is the 8th annual What Is Wrong With You fail 4 in championship round. This is a segment we did for a while, and it was just a one day, once a day, one story thing. Just kind of do it, be a one-off. We'd laugh, we'd move on. And we turned into a competition in 2017, and it's been a competition ever since.
There you go.
So we've got another banner to hang in the rafters, joining our previous champions, the Grilled Cheese Standoff, Tailpipe Girl, Number One Dad, Wrong House Demolition, the Board Bridge Jumper, Family Funeral Feud, Meat Suitcase. Those are our previous 7 winners.
Imagine if we actually had banners in the studio and people walked in the studio and they're like, what does this mean?
I have wanted to get those commissioned for some time, but I think they would have to come out of my salary. And
unless somebody that's a fan would like to donate.
Yeah, if you want to donate some banners, or we should make them out of paper and hang them by paper clips, get them up underneath the paneling on the ceiling. I think we could do it. We could really do it.
Yeah.
We really a little arts and crafts opportunity here. Some thoughts from the text line, which is wide open, 785-272-9429. From the 785, Pandog Mania is going to be a tough one to beat. A dog looks like a panda story. One from the 785, what in the world is the Wrong House Demolition? That was our 2020 champion. It is what it says on the label. Company was called to take down a house, and they went to one that was 2 blocks away and saw that one was being renovated and thought, oh, that must be the one we're supposed to demolish. And they demolished it while it was in the process of being renovated. Like a 100-year-old house. Happened in Dallas, I think. So, that's what Wrong House Demolition was. That was, I think, our February winner in that year. Because obviously, 2020, a lot happened.
Yeah.
And there were no shortage of what is wrong with you stories post like pandemic. But the story occurred in February. I remember because it was one of my stories. So yeah, that's what Wrong House Demolition was. We have lots of requests from the YouTube live chat to do a grand championship of What Is Wrong With You. I'd like to make the field bigger before we go about doing a grand champion. But it is funny.
So it's 8. Is this the 8th year winner?
It's the 8th year. Yes.
I guess you got to wait till you get 10.
Yeah, or we get to a dozen. But that would be a great, 10th anniversary would be a good way to kind of split the baby on that and do a 10-year anniversary. What Is Wrong With You Grand Championship.
And then you go back, pull the audio as it originally aired.
Yeah, well, we don't have that for our 2020 champion, or I don't think our 2021 champion either. A lot was going on.
Yeah.
But for archival purposes, we do have the audio from 17, 18, 19, and 22, 23, and obviously we'll have it for 24. Vance asking the YouTube chat and correctly recalling that number one dad was a guy who stole his daughter's Girl Scout cookie money and used it to get an erotic massage and then called the cops and said he had gotten robbed. He beat himself up. Right? That's why it
really
won.
Going all out for the story.
That's why it won. Yeah, number one dad. Guy stole his daughter's Girl Scout cookie money. It was $750. He blew it all in one place on an erotic massage. And that was our 2019 champion.
I have a random question. I've been thinking about this the whole show.
Sure.
Why is there an extra camera mounted on this glass?
So there was an edition of the show. I think it was not this past Monday, but the Monday before, where inexplicably we could not get the camera feed and the audio feed to our stream. Just couldn't do it. Couldn't figure out what the problem was. StreamYard, who is our streaming provider, was of no assistance, and we just couldn't figure out how to do it. So people who were listening that day remember, or maybe if you were trying to watch the YouTube stream and there was just a spinning white circle. So I wondered if it was a problem in the studio. So I was just arranging the cameras in here to try and see if I could join on one of these computers, and I couldn't.
Okay.
So yeah, that's why you've got a camera, you're staring down the barrel of a spare camera right now when that's not even hooked up to anything. So
it's hooked up to a computer. It has a power button.
Oh, well, maybe it's hooked up to the computer Brendan was using.
Yeah.
Anyhow, enough inside baseball. Let's get some 580 Sports Talk headlines, shall we, to start our new year. First headline for me, the injury report for the Chiefs and the Broncos heading into Week 18. 3 Chiefs were listed as DNPs for a second straight day. Chris Jones, Isaiah Pacheco, and Jawan Taylor. I would place the odds of any of those 3 seeing the field on Sunday in the Mile High City as somewhere between 0% and 0%. All 3 of those players not practicing. Mecole Hardman, Patrick Mahomes, Trent McDuffie, and Mike Pennell all limited. We talked earlier on the show which Chiefs are going to sit out. Mahomes already, that's confirmed. That was confirmed by Andy Reid earlier this week. Mike Pennell seems like a pretty obvious one to sit down, especially after it looked like he tweaked a hammy and had to leave the game for a bit against Pittsburgh on Christmas Day. Trent McDuffie is a no-brainer, too. Go ahead and sit him out. Honestly, it'll be good for Roland Wallace and Najee Johnson and Keith Taylor to get those reps in McDuffie's stead. Shamari Connor and DJ Humphries, though, returning to full practice this week. They've been full participants each of the last 2 days. Would expect to see both of them on Sunday. Humphries, in particular, is going to be a fascinating case because if he holds up well enough against a really good Denver pass rush, it's very possible that he will be the starting left tackle in the divisional round, and Joe Thuney will kick back to left guard.
Looks like you might get Hardman back for the playoffs.
Yeah, Mecole Hardman is listed as limited. He's got his 21-day window open to return from injured reserve. Andy Reid has already said he's not playing this week, but 21-day window open would certainly leave open the possibility that he could be ready to go for the divisional playoffs. For the Broncos, only one player listed as a DNP. It's the swing tackle, Frank Crum. He's been sick, so he didn't practice this week. Everybody else a full go for the Broncos. Tyler Batty, the running back, Nick Benito, the star outside linebacker, Justin Sternad, the inside linebacker, defensive lineman Zach Allen, who had a vet rest day on Wednesday, and guard Ben Powers, who also had a vet rest day Wednesday, listed as full participants. Again, this game means everything to the Broncos. They have not been to the playoffs since winning Super Bowl 50 back in 2015. Have a chance to break that streak with a win or with losses by both Cincinnati and Miami. So that is what is at stake for the Broncos. Obviously, nothing at stake for the Chiefs. They can just go to Denver and go check out Casa Bonita and have a nice time. I have plenty of Mexican food and ham cheeseburger recommendations as well. If Andy Reid would like them, hit my line. That is my first headline for the day. Next headline, Spencer.
Yeah, we'll stick with the Chiefs flavor here. 5 Chiefs were named to the 2025 Pro Bowl, although none of them want to be able to be eligible to play because if you make it to the Super Bowl, you're not eligible for the Pro Bowl. But Creed Humphrey, Chris Jones, Joe Thuney, all named starters. Travis Kelce and Trey Smith were named reserves. They also had 8 alternates: Trent McDuffie, Nick Bolton, Patrick Mahomes, Carson Steele, George Karlaftis, Matt Ariza, Leo Chanel, and Harrison Butker. People are somehow butthurt that Patrick Mahomes did not get into the game.
So he's not one of the 3 best AFC quarterbacks this year.
I don't think so
Like,
either.
I think that if you're just talking about body of work this season, you would have to put Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen and Joe Burrow ahead of Mahomes. This would be the first full year of his career that Mahomes is not selected to the Pro Bowl. Now, of course, he's an alternate. So the way it works is, Joe Burrow will say, yeah, I'm out. And they'll say, okay, cool. Patrick Mahomes, you're in. And Mahomes will say, nah, man, I'm going to go play in the Super Bowl. And then he'll be out, and then they'll pick somebody else. So it'll cycle through, and ultimately he'll probably get the distinction of being named a Pro Bowler, even though, again, this is the worst statistical season of Mahomes' career. He will finish with the fewest passing yards in a full season in his career. He will finish with a tie for the fewest passing touchdowns in a full season, although when he threw 26 touchdowns in 2019, he missed 2 games with that knee injury. He will finish with double-digit interceptions for the 4th straight year. His completion percentage, though, is a career high for whatever that is worth. So, yeah, by the numbers, it has not been what you would call a vintage Patrick Mahomes season. By some of the other numbers, he was actually better than he was last year. Again, this is not a game you really want to be in.
No. If you're the Chiefs, you don't.
How many times did Brady not make the Pro Bowl? That's what I'm curious about. Brady made the Pro Bowl 15 times in his career, 23 seasons. He made the Pro Bowl 15 times. Didn't make the Pro Bowl in 2002, the year after he was a rookie and they won the Super Bowl. Didn't make it the next year either. He was 3rd in the MVP voting that year and didn't make the Pro Bowl. Didn't make it in 06. Obviously didn't make it when he got hurt in the opener in 08. Then made it every year all the way up until 2019. Made it again in 2021. 15 Pro Bowls. I guess if you're chasing that record, maybe that's significant, but I can't say I was surprised. Like, at first you think, oh man, Mahomes didn't make the Pro Bowl. Like, Mahomes is one of the 3 best quarterbacks in the AFC. And then you think about it for like 2 seconds. And yeah, I guess this year he really wasn't.
So I just saw this from Jordan Schultz. This is his tweet that he tweeted or whatever. It's his post on Twitter.
Uh-huh.
People consider the Pro Bowl a joke, and that's fine. But the Pro Bowl affects players' pockets.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it's unfortunate when a player gets snubbed. For example, Trent McDuffie has never been selected to the Pro Bowl on the original ballot. So his 5th-year option is about to be $12.7 million. If he had made 1 Pro Bowl, it'd be $17.1 million. If he had made 2, it'd be over $20 million.
Wow. Yeah, because he was an All-Pro last year. And certainly those accolades help you put a little extra money aside.
But the contractual, like the agreements in the NFL, still rely on the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
Which I don't necessarily know if they should, consider it's flag football now.
Yeah, no kidding. It's not even a real game.
Yeah.
And half the league goes because half the league opts out. Yeah, I got a thing, or I'm going to get operated on, or, we played too deep in the playoffs and I don't really want to take an all expenses paid vacation and do more football stuff. Want to be with my family or whatever the case. Mahomes strikes me as the kind of guy this year, especially with his wife set to give birth to the couple's 3rd child, that might say no anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think I read that.
Even if, obviously the idea for him and the rest of the Chiefs is to skip the whole thing altogether because you're getting ready for Super Bowl 59. But it wouldn't have been a surprise to me if this year, if it had been a consideration, Mahomes would say, yeah, I'm not going. I want to, my wife just gave birth.
Yeah.
So there's that too. But
shout out to the interior offensive line, though, all getting selected
and deserving. Every single one of them deserving selections for the Pro Bowl. Next headline. We got some local stuff to get to, some local football here. A couple of local headlines. The Coaching staff at Washburn University under new head coach Zach Watkins has been finalized with some familiar names, including returning offensive coordinator Dane Simino, one of the most decorated players in Ichabod history, who will be on the staff for his 5th full-time season. He is the only returner other than Watkins, who was promoted from defensive coordinator from Craig Schurig's staff to be the new head coach. Simino is the only returner. Everybody else is a new face. The new defensive coordinator is Caleb Cook, a former Washburn player, and was the defensive coordinator at Benedictine College and helped the Ravens to some deep NAIA playoff runs. The new defensive line coach and run game coordinator on defense, familiar name to K-State fans, Travis Britz, former Kansas State Wildcat, and graduated from there in 2017, was second team All Big 12 in 2015, and joins Washburn from the Oklahoma State staff, where he was an assistant defensive line coach. Defensive backs and special teams coach Jarvis Herod is a full-time member of the staff now. He had been a graduate assistant before spending last season with the Central Missouri coaching staff. The new offensive line coach and run game coordinator is Julian Mendez. He spent last season at William Woods as the head coach in that program's first year in existence. He had previously been an offensive coordinator at Ottawa University in Kansas and elsewhere. Nelson Vasquez is the new wide receivers coach and passing game coordinator at Washburn. He was recently the quarterbacks coach and passing game coordinator at the New Mexico Military Institute. Their most famous recent football alum, New Mexico Military Institute?
I don't know.
Diego Pavia. Ross Sharp, lastly, is the new assistant coach / director of player personnel. Spent the last 6 years as assistant coach at Oak Park High School in North Kansas City. So that is the new Washburn football coaching staff. Another local sports note, local football note, the Kansas Shrine Bowl rosters were released over the weekend. There are 4 Topeka players and 9 players from what we consider our broadcast area that were selected to the East All-Star team, which will be coached by Sabetha head coach Garrett Michael and assisted by, among others, Seaman head coach Jared Swafford. Representing the area on the East All-Star team, Caden Estrada, offensive lineman from Washburn Rural. Mason Faith, offensive lineman from Rock Creek. Max Huston, quarterback from Seaman. Caden Jordan, defensive tackle from Seaman. Also making the game for the East All-Stars, Howie Rezac, linebacker from St. Mary's. Jensen Schrickle, wide receiver, and also listed as the kicker from Hayden. Those are your local ties from the area.
No Briar Finley?
No Briar Finley. Typically it's one player per school. Sometimes you get more. Caden Jordan also very deserving as well for the Seaman Vikings. Jackson Tupps, wide receiver out of Wamego. Also Todd Brown, wide receiver from Tonganoxie, among those who are also in the listening area. Christian Jarrett, defensive back from Eudora. Landon Meyer, halfback out of Sabetha. And a whole lot more. Brandon Schmelsley from Axtell, Aston Schaefer from Marysville, and a host of others. Again, congratulations to all those picked to participate in the 52nd Kansas Shrine Bowl, which will be played June 21st at Memorial Stadium in Dodge City. Spencer, next headline.
Yes, let's go back to the NFL. It is official. There will be no chance of breaking Eric Dickerson's rushing record, as the Eagles will indeed sit Saquon Barkley out of the regular season finale against the Giants, putting the end to the chase for the single season rushing record.
He needed 101 yards to break Eric Dickerson's record.
And he could have done it against the team that wouldn't give him a contract.
Yeah, but given that Philadelphia, A, hadn't had a bye since week 5, and B, doesn't need this game, doesn't mean anything. They're locked into the number 2 seed. This was a no-brainer from Nick Sirianni. And I just don't think, like, it'd be one thing if he was, like, 7 yards away. I'd give him a couple carries, see if he can get it. It'd be one thing if he was, like, 50 yards from 2,000, because that's a really special number. But off the top of your head, do you know the number of rushing yards Eric Dickerson had to set the NFL record? Do you know that number, like, off the top of your head?
Isn't it like 2,152 or something?
2,105,
okay.
Which proves my point. Like, it's a nice record, but nobody really cares what the record is. Like, it's not, this isn't like baseball, right? Where, like, the numbers matter. Football is very different. And there are more important things for Saquon Barkley and the Eagles to accomplish than getting that record. It was an easy decision, I think, for Nick Sirianni. That'll do it for our 580 Sports Talk headlines. Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs, joins us next on the program. It is once again our privilege on 580 Sports Talk to be joined by the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, who joins us every Thursday throughout the Chiefs season, courtesy of our friends at Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union, where you can contact Crystal Rippey, Kirsten McCall, or Kristen Ambergy about the credit union advantage in getting your first or next home loan. Mitch, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. How were your holidays?
Well, they were somewhat truncated with all of the action going on. So delayed, but we still got some squeezed in with family. It was fine, just strange with how packed it was getting ready to that Pittsburgh game. Then it was interesting, the 3 games in 11 days, and you think arguably the 3 best games, or to give up 1 sack when you're up against a gauntlet of Myles Garrett, and T.J. Watt, and Will Anderson Jr., and Danielle Hunter. But it was interesting on the plane ride home from Pittsburgh. That place, everybody was just exhausted. There wasn't hardly any words said, and people were just kind of zombied out. It was quite a push, and then a little bit of decompression, and now we're getting ready to play this week.
Yeah, I'm glad you gave us that little bit of color there, Mitch, because I have to imagine that I guess I can't even imagine, I guess is the point I'm driving at, that what it cost physically to play 3 football games in 11 days, how difficult that has to have been for this team, who's already played more football than any other team in the league because of all of the postseason action that they've been a part of these last handful of years, to have summoned that all up with the bye way in their rearview mirror, and with a lot of guys who've been a part of these Super Bowl runs the last 2 years and the deep playoff runs in years before. I had to imagine that was a team that was taxed, but the good kind of taxed. Like, you finished a marathon, but you get a really nice medal at the end. And those 3 wins in 11 days and 3 impressive wins in 11 days had to have felt worth it for that group at the end of it.
Yeah, I've told you before, this group is really mature. from a mental standpoint, and they're able to stay focused. But your analogy of a marathon is a good one, because so many times marathoners will collapse after they cross the finish line. And that was the feeling with this team, to get through without really any serious injuries, and to do what they did, 2 road games and games that they had to have to get the 1 seed. I'm just proud of them. But even the rest of us that are around the team and work with the team, and, we do shows. Basically, I do 20 shows a week. And for that to be condensed, because you still had to run those shows, just like with you guys, we just had to figure out how we're going to do this, because you're wanting time off for the holidays, and so is everybody else. But we've got to get it done. So how are you going to get it done? I mean, I literally remember right after the Houston game on the Saturday, the 21st, it was walking out the door and going right to the practice facility and starting right away on doing Pittsburgh work. And then the all-day Sunday for the team, I know it was an intense day, and it was for the rest of us. That just became all day, because you only had that and Monday, because we're on a plane Tuesday to go play Wednesday. As James Winchester said on the Kingdom Show Monday night, I would not recommend it, but we did it, and we got through it. So the league's going to have to discuss it. We're not alone in this. For Houston, Pittsburgh had a brutal 3 games to play 3 games in 11 days. Look who they played with: Philadelphia, Baltimore, and us. I mean, that kind of derailed their season in a way. Houston, after losing Tank Dell in our game, leaking oil, there's no time to really recover from it. And so it's just hard on these teams physically, but also mentally and emotionally. And then you do it during the holidays. So all these gals and guys, they've got holidays and family and trying to make plans. And so it's a challenge.
And through all of that, Mitch, you mentioned it. Not only do the Chiefs win those 3 games, but you could argue the wins against Houston and Pittsburgh might have been the best game performances by the Chiefs this season. Andy Reid essentially said as much following the Pittsburgh game. What in particular stood out to you about the effort from the team in the Pittsburgh game that made it feel like, oh, this is a complete effort, and this is a team right now that is dialing itself in a way that it couldn't have felt more different than last Christmas, when the Chiefs lost that game to the Raiders, and you left that game feeling, man, are they going to be able to put it together for January? It was a complete 180 for this year's Chiefs team.
I would say several different things. One was protection, and Joe Tooney was outstanding at left tackle. Think about all the guys I just mentioned. Other than Denver, we play this week, number 1 in the league in sacks. The 3 teams, it's the one thing Cleveland can do, is just pressure the quarterback. And Houston was number 1 in the league in QB pressures. So that's one. You give up 1 sack in those 3 games. That's ridiculous. In 2 games, you get 5 sacks. You get 5 sacks against Pittsburgh, and you don't have Chris Jones. So then also the takeaways and not giving the ball away. I mean, one of the nuggets of the night is the fact that Patrick Mahomes is sitting here at 6 games now for this team and no giveaways. I mean, it's the longest streak for a Chiefs team in like 7 years. And so that, and to be plus 10, you basically went, and Pat went 6 consecutive starts, winning each one of those games without an interception. Only Tom Brady has more. He did it in 2010 with 8 in the history of the league. And then Pat had 237 passing attempts without an interception, the longest of his career. But you were plus 10. You didn't give the ball away at all in those 3 games, 0, 0, 0. And you were plus 10 collectively in those 3 games. So you went from -4 to plus 6. The Chiefs are now 10th best in the league in giveaway takeaway ratio after they were 28th or 9th. And that's in that 3-game span. So I would say those 2 things, protection and the giveaway takeaway. You also got a special teams takeaway in the Cleveland game. And then I would say offensively, figuring this all out. Were so many pieces. The quick game, the under 2.5 seconds of throwing. I said we've stolen Tua Tagovailoa's iPad, but you're seeing now Hollywood Brown's influence. Xavier Worthy's played his best football these 3 games. You see D-Hop has made such a transformational piece to this offense. I'm giving you a long-winded answer, but those are the byproducts of 3 remarkable games: preparation, toughness, and a will to win to get the 1 seed.
We're joined by Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs here on 580 Sports Talk. And Mitch, in the game against the Steelers, Travis Kelce became the all-time touchdown leader for tight ends on the Chiefs. And while many think this is a down year, you go back and look at the stats. I mean, it's most likely he's not going to play at all, or if any, on Sunday against the Broncos. 97 catches, 823 yards, 3 touchdowns. Touchdowns down, the yardage down, but the receptions about there right at his average for the last few seasons. How much of an impact has he had no matter what happened? I'm trying to phrase this better maybe. Is the impact he meant to this team this year, even though he didn't have the numbers that we're used to?
And he had to yield his role. It's almost like a home run hitter that's willing to go the other way and hit gappers. And you didn't lead the league in home runs, but you might have been among the leaders in doubles, to give an analogy. But to see what he did with 7 consecutive years with 90 receptions at least, that's an all-time NFL record for all pass catchers. So that's Jerry Rice, that's Larry Fitzgerald, anybody you want to think of, Chris Carter. Kels is the best of all that group when you look at the productivity. So the productivity is still there. That's one answer to your question. The other was to have 4 catches in this last game over that, where he got to 1,000 career receptions. Only the third tight end to do so, and only one of 15 players to do it of all pass catchers, and 8 of the previous 14 in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That tells you that this year was not a drop-off. He got there in volume of receptions, maybe yards per catch down or total yards down. He yields that to Brock Bowers. But for his effectiveness in being a part of this 15-1, Kelce was as good as ever in just different ways of influencing a game positively.
Last question for me. When you look at this receiving core, obviously Hollywood Brown coming back, getting used to things. You kind of mentioned that. But then you have DeAndre Hopkins and you have Xavier Worthy. And it looks like McCole Hardman trending to come back to the playoffs where he seems to play hero. How much of a kind of like luck is not luck, but like Patrick Mahomes gets to play with some of the best receivers ever, and they're all getting healthy at the right time?
He's excited, I'll tell you. And I saw the excitement in his face during the grind to try to get 3 games in 11 days. He still had an infusion of hope because this was what he was thinking he would have during training camp. Now, sans Rossi Rice, I got it. But he didn't think he didn't know he was going to have D-Hop or even having Juju Smith-Schuster back. Those were late ads. And I've mentioned this before to kind of update it. Before D-Hop, Pat had 6 touchdowns and 8 picks. Since, 20 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. So that's D-Hop's influence. I'm going to give you ready for your first stat of the night? Your first nugget of the night?
Let's do it.
I'll give you a couple here. All right. Xavier Worthy. You mentioned Xavier Worthy. 9 touchdowns now, 6 via receiving, 3 via rushing. A second among NFL rookies in those 9 touchdowns, but even more so historically. Listen to these 2. He's only the 3rd rookie in the last 30 years to have 3+ receiving touchdowns and 3+ rushing touchdowns. The other 2, Deebo Samuel in 2019 with San Francisco. And Tyreek Hill with the Chiefs in 2016. Here's another one about Xavier Worthy. His 9 touchdowns are the most by a rookie for a defending Super Bowl champion of all time. Now, let's think back to the defending Super Bowl champions. And even any Super Bowl champion, not just back-to-back. There's a lot of rookie impact players that did not have 9 touchdowns. So Xavier Worthy is hitting his stride at the right time of the year, as well as the rest of the crew. And then Hollywood's out there running around making big plays. And that's why Patrick's excited.
One more question for Mitch Holthus, voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, joins us on 580 Sports Talk, courtesy our friends at Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. Mitch, we can say that the Week 18 result doesn't matter to the Chiefs. And as it regards their playoff seeding and the first round bye, the result doesn't matter. But I don't think you get to be an organization like the Chiefs, as successful as they are, by treating a game like the game itself doesn't matter. It's a competitive opportunity, and whoever is out there for the Chiefs is going to compete for 60 minutes of football. who are you most interested to see get an expanded opportunity on Sunday and what they do with that expanded opportunity against the Broncos, who will be playing for their playoff lives?
Yeah, so let's first of all, I'm glad you brought it up because I wanted to bring it up on my own if you didn't, in that the Chiefs are going there to win a football game. Everybody listening to me, I wish you could have been around my conversation with Coach Reed Monday. Some of you heard on the Chiefs Kingdom show. Some of you did not. But it was very, very plain and simple. We're going there to win the football game. And just no matter who plays. And then it's also not a third preseason game. You'll only have 53 on the roster. They'll elevate 2 guys. Not sure who that elevation will be, but they'll elevate 2 guys, and then they've got to get to 48 because they elevated 2 guys, 7 will be inactive. You're going to still play starters in this game. You have to at some spots. But the Chiefs are going there to win the game. Think about last year beating the Chargers in a very similar circumstance, but a better, and this is going way back in time to Coach Reed's first year in 2013, where that was the exact situation. We went to the Chargers on the road. Chargers were like the Broncos. They had to win to get in. The Chiefs played backup, some starters, but the same circumstance. Ryan Suckup missed a field goal, or the Chargers would have been out, the Steelers would have been in, and the Chiefs would have rolled into the playoffs. So it gave an indication in Andy Reid's first year what you just inferred, and that is Andy Reid is going to play to win this game. Sounds like Herm Edwards. I'm just telling you, anybody that's out talking about, oh, we'll just give this one away is off. Now, you're asking, who am I most intrigued to watch? And I would tell you, because of the increased responsibility, one gets close to home with Felix Anudike-Uzomah. He played a lot of snaps in this Week 18 game last year. He had an awesome sack against Pittsburgh, but he will be front and center in this game. The same with Jaden Hicks, the rookie out of Washington State. And we saw the penalty that he had, but he's had 3 interceptions this year. Stupid penalty with Pickens. I'm sure that was a build-up throughout the day, but still, they'll be that stupid. But he now takes the role of basically Justin Reid in this game. He now has to take over the role of kind of organizing everything. Fans don't know Cam Jones. He's been here for 2 years, but he'll be the green dot probably in this game. I think Bolton will probably be inactive. And then on the offensive side, I would say Nico Remigio. He's been exciting as a returner. He's been great at both punt and kick returns, but now he's going to be a scrimmage down player and will get a bunch of targets in this game. Carson Steele comes to mind. And then however they put together the offensive line, I'm not sure yet how they're going to do that, but there will be probably 2, maybe 3 guys on the offensive line that will be worth watching to see if they can make necessary steps forward. So I know it's a loaded answer, but that's what I'm so intrigued with this game, just like I was last year. I saved the snap counts from last year's game, from this Week 18 game, because I was so intrigued by it. A Cam Jones in this game or a Jaden Hicks, because they have to play most of the special teams, could play up to 100 snaps in this game. Because last year, Jack Cochran and Cam Jones played over 100 snaps. So Peyton Hendershot's another guy. I mean, he could play close to 100 snaps, and he's the third tight end. So to me, I'm very intrigued. Do they have a shot at winning? You bet, because Carson Wentz is going out there. And Carson Wentz has 92 starts, and he's won 47 starts in his career. So he's going out there to sling it and win this game. So they may not pull it off, but Denver needs it. But the Chiefs are going there to win. Put that out there loud and clear and cast any doubt.
Mitch Holthus is the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. He joins us Thursdays on 580 Sports Talk thanks to Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. He'll be on the call as the Chiefs wrap up the regular season in Denver against the Broncos on Sunday, a 3:25 kickoff, 2 p.m. pregame coverage on 580 WIBW with the Chiefs Radio Network. Mitch, enjoy the Mile High City, and we'll talk to you again next week. One more nugget. It has to do with Denver feeling the pressure. Denver has now gone 8 seasons and not made the playoffs after they won Super Bowl 50. It is the longest time of any Super Bowl champion to be without a playoff appearance. That creates pressure for Denver. The other one is they've got a .250 win percentage against teams that are 500 or better. Just 2 and 7 actually.
they're 7-0 against teams with losing records. 7 teams since 2020 have made the playoffs with 250 against winning teams. All 7 lost in the first round. So Denver needs to prove they can beat a good team, even though they're playing some backups. And there's pressure on this Denver team to make the playoffs. If they don't, it will count like 2 losses and will cast a pall on their entire postseason. They've got some pressure.
I'm going to send that clip to all my buddies who are Broncos fans, Mitch. Thanks so much for the time. We appreciate you. We'll talk to you next week.
All right. See you guys. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. That is Mitch Holthus. We'll take a break, come back, and wrap up 580 Sports Talk. Winding up this edition of 580 Sports Talk, Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis with you. Our thanks again to Mitch Holthus for joining the show, for Rick Peterson as well in the 3 o'clock hour for joining the show today. Let's get some predictions for 2025 on the record. It's our first show of 2025. Give me something for the teams that we cover. It could be Chiefs, Royals, KUK State. Give me a prediction. Put your name on something right here, right now. You don't have to be like super fuego spicy. Just put your name on something right now, Spencer, for 2025. What are we going to see?
The Royals make the ALCS.
Royals make the ALCS. A deeper playoff run than last year.
Yeah.
I think they got a chance to win the Central. Cleveland's running, they've moved on from Josh Naylor and Andres Jimenez. I think Cleveland takes a step back this year. I think the Central's gettable. The Royals go out and get one more bat. I think the Central is super gettable for the Royals. I will say that. I will put my name on a couple of predictions. I will say this. I will predict that Travis Kelce calls it a career after the Chiefs win the Super Bowl here in a month?
Yeah, that's not too much of a hot takey thing because
I
everybody.
didn't say it had to be a hot take.
That's true. I mean, like, I feel like that's trending towards being like something that's going to happen.
I will predict that the K-State women reach the second weekend of the NCAA tournament for the first time in nearly 20 years.
I think they reached the Final Four.
Ooh, they might be Final Four good. They were not playing well in Houston yesterday, their first conference road game, and then they outscored the Cougars 23-4 in the fourth quarter. Just blew their doors off. Very, very impressive. I will predict that Avery Johnson is first team all-conference quarterback in the Big 12 this coming year. First team all-conference, first team all-Big 12.
I predict the Chiefs will win the division again next year.
Really going out there on a limb with that one.
Well, I don't know. The Broncos are getting better. The Chargers are getting better.
They are. Won't be as easy.
Yeah.
Won't be as easy, certainly. But those are some of my predictions. And then champions in the four major sports for 2025. I went 0 for 4 last year. I said Ravens, Avalanche, Nuggets, and Braves. Went 0 for 4. We'll try again. Chiefs, Dodgers repeat. Monkeys off their back. They're going to start rolling in October. Avalanche or Nuggets. I'm a homer.
Chiefs, Capitals.
Okay.
They are coming out of nowhere.
I
and
know.
Look at Ovechkin. He's 40 years old.
Getting him back. Yeah.
He's going to break the goal streak this year.
Yeah. The goals record. Yeah.
Yeah. NBA. Ooh. NBA. Celtics.
Okay. And then baseball.
Baseball. Dodgers.
Okay. All right. Well, we stamped it for 2025. Hopefully I do better than 0 for 4. I'll take 2 if I get to pick the 2. Real quick, word from my friends at Great Life Topeka. New Year's resolution time. You probably want to get out to the gym. Great Life Topeka is where you want to go. Become a member. Have access to their 8 workout facilities with gleaming equipment, something for everyone, whether you're just starting your fitness journey or you're trying to get real swole, or you're like me and your son is huge and you need to, do some bicep curls so you can pick up your child moving forward. Great Life has got you covered. Become a member today. Visit greatlifetopeka.com for more information. Take a break. Come back with a final word next. Wrapping up, walking off our first show at 2025 with a final word. Spencer Dupuis, give it to me.
It's crazy when you come back from a trip that you spent, more than 10 days away from your humble abode, and you come home and you you open the fridge and realize, oh yeah, you need to go grocery shopping.
Oh man, I was really concerned of the direction you were going to take that story. I was clenching. I'm like, oh no, he left some milk. He left some.
No, I learned that back on my first year of working in radio, and we went on a work trip right before Christmas, and then came back and then went to Christmas, and then didn't come back till right after New Year's. That fridge smelled for 6 months. But shout out to the girlfriend for being off today and going to the grocery store for us.
Perfect.
So we're gonna have some food at home tonight,
Good.
and it's crazy. In just what, I guess 15, no, less than that, 13 days, it'll be my 1 year anniversary here.
That's
at
right.
580.
That's right. We're coming up on it right now.
Yep.
And 580 Sports Talk viewer and live chatter Olivia says dinner is being made. Presently.
Yay!
So yeah, you're all set, big guy. You're all set. Final word for me today. It was not the start to Big 12 play that I would have anticipated for either K-State or KU. For K-State, that's a positive because they went out and they beat the 16th ranked team in the country, and they did it following a blueprint that's going to work for them if they can keep it going with Coleman Hawkins and Doug McDaniel being the two best players on the floor and being unquestionably the alphas. K-State's needed guys to step forward. Hopefully that's the start for them. For KU, look, I know Bill Self has a standard. I know you got to play defense to get on the floor for the Jayhawks, but also you have to score. And they can't play 3-on-5 offensively in this conference and win a bunch of games. It just won't happen. They've got to figure out something on offense. That'll do it for us. We're back from 3 to 6 tomorrow. For Spencer and Brendan, I'm Dan. This is 580 Sports Talk.